Beep beep ba ba boo. Beep beep beep. Boop boop ba ba ba. Beep boop boop ba beep. Beep boop ba. Boop 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 ba beep. Beep 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 ba. Beep ba boo. Beep beep beep. Hey, Amelia, with the first dono of the night, says, "Hey, Joel, hope you're well. I'll tune in later. I'm on my way home from Boston. 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 You were there visiting your roots, your Irish roots. Well, thank you, Amelia. We'll see you soon. Safe travels. Safe travs, as they say. Down in fucking Boston. I forgot you stream on Saturdays sometimes. Yes, this is a I'm on a deadline and I gotta get shit done, but the only way I'm motivated to do it is if there's people cheering me on, because I'm a little fucking kid. And therefore, this nice little structure will motivate me to read some scary stories. Ones specifically that I have to do for the Chilling app and bonus content. Also, that song was called Kakariko is Saved, or maybe Kakariko is Saved, The Legend of Zelda from Twilight Princess. And then this is called Mondo Loop's Forest Kingdom, lo-fi hip-hop relaxing beats from Lo-Fi Girl. This song specifically is called Ancient Map. You're a badass. Thanks, Angel. So are you. But I hope everyone's having a good weekend. I'm just cruising for a bruising. I gotta open up the content though, I forgot. Let's see. Who else appreciates Joel's stories? Yeah, who here is any appreciators in the chat? Showing thine appreciation. Where am I at here? Sorry. Was it July stories? Yeah, it might have been July. Yeah. Okay, I got this last one to read here called Vermin's Nest by Corpse Child. So it is going to be a big creepypasta, but it's pretty long. It's like 12 pages. And I just got to bang it out. And then it might be a longer stream than normal, to be honest with you, which I'm sure nobody's too upset about. A little drunk with a surprise stream? Yes, there you go. Perfect timing. I knew you were drinking. I could smell it on your breath. So I thought, you know what? Better go press that stream button. Fresh off work, rolling a blunt, ready to listen. I am in much appreciation for Joel. Thank you, Rico. Be sure to puff pass, brother. Your voice is good medicine. Thank you. Gracias. The stream is so low by... Like low volume? Is the volume low? People always tell me that. Like, I get that, but it's weird because, like, everyone who's here at normal time... Like, I'm afraid that if I turn it up anymore, I'm going to be, like, blowing people's ears out. Because when I'm looking at it, right, you got a really big section of green, which is, like, your good zone, right? And then it gets into the yellow zone for your audio. I'm talking about, like, audio. And then if it gets into the red, that means it's, like, peaking. You know what I mean? And I don't want the audio to peak and, like, hurt your ears or anything or sound bad or distort. So in my mind, I'm, like, right on the green, right on the yellow cusp. And if I turn it up anymore, it could be... Oh, actually, my volume is all the way up right now, and it does seem a little slightly quieter, but not that bad. I wonder if there's... Well, shit. Maybe... Let's see. Properties... Dang. Well, you know what? You know what I'll do? I'll just, like, slightly... turn that up a little bit. I don't know if that helps. It is pretty quiet. My volume's way up. Ah, shit. The volume's fine. I'd smoke a pound with you, bro. You are the truth. Oh, thank you, Rico. A pound. Can we eat the pound? Just munch on the entire clump of leaf. Audio is good. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I get, like, random comments, like, where they're, like, really pissed about the audio being quiet. There you go. Oh, maybe, yeah, maybe now it's... I turned it up just slightly. Sounds much better. Okay. Well, that's good. Maybe, yeah, see... Let me look at... No, it's a different program. Ah, whatever. Hey, Hannah, welcome back for 10 months in the Buttersock Call. You now have access... Well, you still have access to bonus content, and soon some to come here. Can you please right now find Pradeep and scratch him on his little chin for me? I can. He is at my feet because my backpack is at my feet. And scratch his little chin. His little chinny chin. And he loves it. He loves it. It is funny. He's just like, looks like a little loaf there. I think he likes that backpack and being close. It's better to smoke the pound. Ah, dang. I figured you could just skip the middleman in case you had asthma and just eat the leaf, you know? It doesn't look too bad. That's cool too, bro. I'll roll a pound and bake the other half just for you. Oh, thank you. Yeah, just put it in the oven and then just let the fumes kind of fill the house. That's what I usually do. Julie should do a live stream while high and just chat with all of us. That'd be fun. Yeah, the one time I took some edibles, you guys might have remembered that one. But it was like microdose. Real small amount. But I certainly was in a silly, goofy mood, for sure. David De La Rosa with the 2 says, thank you, Joel, for making my Saturday. You're welcome. I'll probably be back tomorrow, too. Oversaturate the market with streams. But I guess that's kind of encouraged, right? People like daily streams. It's nice to hear Let's Read's voice after today's active. What? 60 yards for... Yikes. In your area. THC plus butter and awesome body high. Oh, yes. Dude, it's kind of crazy now. Like, now that weed and everything is just like, you know, starting to get normalized as far as selling it at dispensaries and stuff. Like, you just have like such a tremendous amount and like many ways to consume it. Oversaturate. I can't make it tomorrow, so I'm glad to say. Oh yes, no worries. And Elise Couture, welcome to the Buttersock Call. You now have access to bonus content and more to come tonight as we record. Just to clarify, the bonus content on Chilling and the bonus content on YouTube is two separate ones. So if you're here for the stream, you're getting all sorts of a first look, behind the scenes, early access. But hopefully you'll still want to listen to the finished product. Listening to this while I make curry, heck yeah. Save me some. Joel in the morning, Joel at night, Joel every day, yeah. You love when it's in oil form? Like the goop that they put in, what is the goop? What's that goop called where it's like wax? You have a D8 pen. I didn't hear good things about Delta 8. I heard bad things about Delta 8. I heard it made some people see the devil, man. It saw the devil. Know how to subscribe longer to Buttersuck Call? How to subscribe longer? What do you mean subscribe longer? I know if you click that money thing, and if you were like, say, an ongoing member, you can actually like celebrate your membership by like leaving a custom message with it, and it will come up as a notification. This is my first time catching a live, but I listen to you every single day at work and when I'm trying to fall asleep, and been rocking with you for a long time now. That's awesome. See, I don't know. That is awesome to me that people have been around with the YouTube channel for, and the podcast or whatever it might be, for a long time, you know? And I guess when you find something that helps you sleep, like, it really does become part of your, you know, part of your routine. And honestly, I appreciate you guys allowing me to be part of that routine. It's something not everybody gets to say that they get to do. Can you say good night to my girlfriend, Slovakian Sylvia? She's going to sleep now. Good night, Sylvia. Sleep tight. You're truly my G. Been listening for so long at work and home. No, thank you, Dylan. G with a capital G. Oh, another 7 minutes here. We'll chill and then we'll kick this off. Like I said, we got some content from Chilling, and then there's like a big announcement for Chilling on Monday. That'll be on Monday's video, which should be a fun video, actually. Well, that'll be in tomorrow's live stream, but also in Monday's video. And it's going to be audio with creepy backstories. And to me, that shit honestly is scarier than like videos sometimes. I don't know if you guys remember that fucking dude who was like studying the grizzly bears and like living with them. Which, like, I get it. Like, I don't know. There's something primal in us that wants to make us think that like these crazy creatures out in the woods like us. But then, I don't know, I think they were like cooking food or something, and then a grizzly bear came into their tent and just like started eating them. And it's not very poggers, dude. But anyways, I think they have like audio of them like getting eaten alive, and it's just fucking terrifying. What made you want to get into narrating horror stories? Like, when did you first decide it was something you wanted to do for a hobby here on YouTube? Yeah, I just wanted to do YouTube stuff, and reading was something that I thought not a lot of people did. But then I stumbled across the creepypasta community, because initially I was reading, you know, science fiction and random shit like that, Wikipedia pages if you go back far enough. And it just sort of slowly evolved over to creepypasta, because that was the market. And then from there it sort of evolved into you guys sending in your true scary stories and, you know, true crime. David De La Rosa, thank you for the 2. Man, since early 2020, and I don't plan on stopping ever. The stream you kept singing Kate Bush had me rolling so much, and I've literally played that song ever since. I know how addicting it is. Like, you hear a song and then it just like sticks in your mind. And it was funny because I'm always like, anytime there's like some sort of meme or whatever, I'm always like 2 weeks late to it. So then I was playing it for some people and they're like, oh my God, this fucking song. Running up that hill. I'm rolling up that blunt. I'm smoking up that shit. Time travel kind of guy or space travel? I think time travel would be safer because space is like, there's really nothing out there for the most part, or at least it's kind of like atoms, you know what I mean? You know how like when you look at atoms, they're really fucking far apart from each other in comparison to their size. And that's kind of how space is. Just everything orbiting around each other and very, very far away with, you know, I think Earth is just some sort of strange anomaly, you know what I mean? Obviously, you know, compared to how many joints you smoke a day. I guess 0, you know. I get paranoid, you know what I mean? I just like think too much. Some people, it works for them. And I like to get high here and there, you know, just socially. Once in a while, give it a whirl. I say some funny shit, blah, blah, blah. But when I'm by myself, I can't smoke by myself. Like, I'm in my fucking head way too much to like do that. It just amplifies my brain times 20. Have you ever thought about doing audiobooks? You have a great voice. Oh, thank you, Death. Yeah, I mean, I have. It's just the time commitment to an audiobook versus the payout compared to just doing YouTube and streams and shit. You know, it's just fucking, it's rough, man. Only person I listen to besides you is Mr. Balin. I know that's the homie. Yeah, Mr. Balin's, or Ballin, yeah. Everyone always corrects me. It's Ballin. Or no, wait. Oh no, it's B. Allen, right? So Ballin. Mr. Ballin. I don't fucking know. Ballin. Bro, can you say goodnight to my Slovakian Sylvia? She's going to sleep. Good night, Slovakian Sylvia. Sleep tight. In that Slovakian knapsack. Also going to be honest, guys, there's a really annoying dog in my apartment. It's been barking nonstop all day. Should I do something? Yeah, I guess you could like get a broomstick and just pound on this roof and say, shut the fuck up. Because that is so disrespectful of neighbors to not, like, I don't know, tell their dog to stop at least. Maybe they're trying to. I don't even fucking know. Graph Girl with the 5 says, I love listening to your stories so much at work. I had to go back 3 years to find one I haven't listened to. Thank you for making work easier. Thank you, Graph. You're welcome. That's crazy. Gone through all the content. Which honestly is really good for the channel because, like, I don't really have to rely too heavily on people, like, new people coming in to listen to stuff. Thankfully, you guys going backwards in time to listen to old content is still like valuable to you, which is something that like a lot of YouTube content doesn't really have, you know. If you're gonna want to go watch fucking Keemstar shit, like nobody gives a shit about fucking drama from 3 years ago, you know what I mean? Or even last week sometimes, you know, they just want the new. Gotta have the new. What's the new shit? What's the new shit? Do more UK stories. I love it when you read about my home country. Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, I think even last video had about 2 stories that were from the UK at least. But yeah, designated videos definitely in the... what does your Spotify library look like? Oh, do you mean like my personal one? I actually use a lot of... I've been using a lot of YouTube's music app, which is kind of like Spotify. And then someone on here actually showed me that... There's like a discovery playlist, which is nice because it just updates with some new stuff all the time, which is always fun to me. I actually find some good stuff on there. Your music choice is dope too, bro. The Zelda music's mad. Dude, I love that song. Dude, there's so much good Nintendo shit, man. Tonight we get to eat Pizza Hut instead of cooking at home for once. I'm excited about this shitty pizza. Hell yeah, dude. I used to eat a lot of fucking stuffed crust. And then I found a place in town that did like what's called like a red stuffed pizza, which is like a deep dish pizza. And just imagine the stuffed crust, but the whole motherfucking pizza is stuffed to the motherfucking brim. And it's like local, so it's not just like freeze-dried bullshit that they dump oil onto. It's that real good shit. All right, friends. let us switch to our reading screen here. Once again, I want to thank, obviously, the Zelda song. You can check that out anytime, but also over on Lo-Fi Girl, Mondo Loops, Forest Kingdom. It's a pretty new video, actually, in case you're down with it. Chicago style? I think so. Deep dish Chicago. Red stuffed. He do a story about mein country, Germany. Oh yeah, probably. At some point. So why are we here on a Saturday? Yeah, it's so we're reading, once again, we're reading some chilling content for the app Chilling. Definitely check it out. A lot of talented people over there, a lot of good content you've not heard before. And they're doing some big updates on it soon. It's going to have video content, all sorts of crazy shit. It's definitely growing, which is great to hear. Great news there. But also we're doing some bonus content. Some boner content. Any H3 fans? Not quite. But yeah. So let's do it. Let's fucking rock and roll. Dude, Jacob, you beat COVID in one night. I'm fucking impressed, bro. You got the immune system of Jesus Christ himself. Do I own any Bitcoin? I do, yeah. I don't suggest anyone to buy any, but hey. The thing, okay, I'll be honest with you. This is a little conspiratorial, but I'll be honest with you. I have a feeling when it comes to the concept, just think about the myth. Oh wait, but first let me twerk. Oh shit, sorry. Had to do that real quick. Rosa Diaz, thank you for the 30 buckaroonies. Thank you. It's my birthday today, so I'm gonna make it rain. Thank you, Rosa. We should be making it rain on you. And happy birthday. Everybody say happy birthday to Rosa. Thank you so much. She got her orange belt in Taekwondo, and now she over here having a motherfucking birthday. It's a good week. But if you think about the when it comes to Bitcoin, like the mythology behind the whole concept, right? It just sort of like popped up out of nowhere. They don't really know who the creator is. It's got this concept, and maybe in some ways like that's ingenious, but it's got this concept of like a sort of decentralized currency where it ever operates on the quote unquote blockchain and blah 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 blah. You know all the buzzwords. Whether I can't say I fully understand it, I'm sure some people do, but like I think it in and of itself, like when it comes to the trends that you can anticipate to pick up in the future, the ones that tend to pick up obviously can be like sort of grassroots following, but like the ones that the government are going to want to get their like grimy paws in, you know what I'm saying? Like there's eventually going to be a time where the government is going to see the dollar or whatever currency as being like unreliable or something, or it's going to get to the point where like some sort of crisis could occur that might make the general population uncertain, right? So it's going to shift everyone towards something else, which may or may not be the blockchain style currencies. And I'm just speculating. I don't fucking know, and this is not financial advice at all. But like there's something about those cryptocurrencies that I think the government would really like, and one of which being is its ability to surveil the transactions, right? So like no longer can little Jimmy go down, with his dad's lawnmower at the age of 15 and fucking, mow somebody's lawn for $20 and it's all under the table, untaxed, blah, blah, blah. Like, when it comes to these sort of blockchain, sort of decentralized digital currencies, the government wants to know exactly where it's going at all times, all the time. You know what I mean? So they can tax it. Yeah, exactly. And then they can also monitor your movements, use algorithms to predict your movements, and just build profiles on people, within a sort of like social system. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying this is all very just speculatory, but at the same time, my perception towards crypto is that it probably it has a future that is going to be around for quite some time, because not because it's, I mean, it is an interesting idea in and of itself, but because it has its sort of like, in some sort of senses, nefarious uses, you know what I mean? Like in a scarier sense, you know what I mean? But hey, we have to adapt and evolve as people, so expect that. Anyways, David De La Rosa with the 2 says, Joel is still fighting COVID. Love twerking noises. I'm still, oh, you're still fighting COVID. Jeez, Dave. Sorry to hear that, my friend. Hope you're getting all that phlegm out of there, clearing the nose. I remember one of the best investments I made was that Navage, which used like distilled water and like saline to sort of flush out your sinuses, and then obviously like boosting your immune system, and sleep, you know, when you're sick, if you have the time to do it, even if it fucks up your sleep schedule, if you can sleep, dude, it's wild, like what your body can do to repair itself. Very 1984 of you. Well, it's interesting. What's the opposite book of 1984, where it's not so much of like an authoritative like thing, it's almost like people will become like disinterested in books, or like, so like rather than being killed by their own, you know, by like the government, they're gonna just be killed by their own pleasures. What's that one? It was like it like happened in parallel with it or something. (1894). All right. Anyways, we're reading some creepypasta here tonight, my friends. These ones, this first story, and the only story from here tonight, it's going to be end up on the Chilling app, so we'll go ahead and do it. Fahrenheit 451. I don't think so. It's the opposite of 18. Oh, right. No. Do you ever do edibles though at all? And what is that thing you're using when it sounds like a bong? Oh, I'm just gargling water. Here, I'll do it right now. Literally, just have one of those hydro flasks filled with fucking water, and I'm just. It's literally just water and me gargling, because when you talk so damn much like me. Yeah, Brave New World, that's the one. If you've heard of 1984, just look into Brave New World. That one's a little bit more realistic, I feel like, or more indicative of the times we're in. Maybe a little bit mix of the both, you know what I mean? Yeah, Aldous Huxley, right? Yeah, Aldous Huxley. Anyways. Here we go. Vermin's Nest by Corpse Child. I can hear them now, scuttling and scampering about. I can hear them whispering, debating on who will get the first bite, and which parts of me they'll want to eat first. I can hear them from under me, under my bed. The floor and the walls of my house are thin, making it that much easier for me to clearly make out what they say. Take him while he sleeps. So tasty. So peaceful. No, now. Take him. Take him now. Who else could they possibly mean? They've already taken Pamela when I brought her over to visit, along with my roommate Connor. They took them last night, as well as my neighbors and even their puppy before them. I'm the only one left. I don't know who they are or exactly how long they've been here, nesting in the basement of this house. I make it a good bet to say that they'd been here quite a while, judging by the rumors that surrounded this place. God, I should have listened. Only about a month and a half ago, I'd started looking for a small place to move into from my college dorm. I've been searching for weeks, trying to find a cheap little apartment or something. Unfortunately, even those seemed to be just a bit too much for me to afford, and that was when a stroke of luck hit me when I found someone on Facebook who was, ironically enough, almost moving into a new place from college and was reaching out for a roommate to split the bills and rent a small house with. What's more, it was only about a 30-minute drive from the college and was in my old hometown of Weeping Willow, North Carolina. I guess it is worth mentioning that Old Willow, as Granny always used to call it, was always kind of notorious for this. and that old ghost stories about this and that old place all was always kind of notorious for this and that old ghost story. What does this mean? Okay, here we go. As Granny always used to call it, right? Was always kind of notorious for this. And that old ghost story about this and that old place all around, all through the town. Wait, is this like a... I'm confused by this phrase. What the fuck? Lynn with the 2 says, found Pokemon Ranger at an old bookstore. Booting up. Pokemon Ranger? Which one's that? Oh, Pokemon Ranger. That's... Isn't that like old... Isn't that like DVDs or some... Or not DVDs, but like... Is it a game? If you're booting it up, it's a game, right? I don't remember Pokemon Ranger. I'd be sounding like Gollum. Yeah, a little bit. You're pooping so hard. Be careful. Don't get hemorrhoids. Okay. Was always kind of notorious for this and that. What is this saying? As Granny always used to call it, was always kind of notorious for this and that old ghost story about this and that old place all through the town. Dude, it makes me mad, like, when these stories get sent in and they're fucking... Like, how do you... Like, what is this even... Okay, I'm going to read this sentence over. You guys figure it out for me. I guess it is worth mentioning that old Willow, as Granny always used to call it, was always kind of notorious for this and that old... Wait, always... Was always kind of notorious for this. Maybe I get rid of that one. I'm trying to like fix this person's grammar. Was always kind of notorious for this old ghost story about... What the fuck? Was always kind of notorious for this old ghost story about this and that old place all through the town. Oh my god. I don't know why this frustrates me so much. Like, this is supposed to be like a... I don't even know how to fix their sentence. I literally have no fucking clue what they're trying to say. I guess it is worth mentioning that old Willow, as Granny always used to call it, was always kind of notorious for this old ghost story about this and that. Whatever, we're just gonna get rid of that. I don't know. This is what it feels like to be a fucking, like, middle school English teacher or some shit. Just, like, reading people's shit and being like, what the fuck? Dude, if I was, like, a middle school English teacher, I would just get high as shit and just grade people's papers and be like, this fucking sucks. Maybe I would be nice. Maybe I would, like, rewrite it for him, but make it sound cooler. I guess it is worth mentioning that old Willow, as Granny always used to call it, was always kind of notorious for this old ghost story about this and that all through the town. Hell, I remember how my buddies and I used to dare each other just to eat one of the apples from the oak tree in the middle of the plaza downtown, thinking we'd get possessed or something like that. Even back then, though, I knew none of that was real. Just stories to spook the hell out of each other on the playground, right? Anyway, I, of course, took him up on the offer. The place was listed as a semi-decent price. Only having to pay half of it, I wouldn't end up in a financial bid. I reached out to him via Messenger, letting him know that I was interested in his offer, and asked him where and when he'd like to meet up. We met up the next afternoon after class at the old diner that, surprisingly, was still around and hadn't moved from its spot across from the shopping mall on Garrett Street. From there, Connor and I basically became like friends. He always seemed really cool, having many of the same interests as I did, as well as being able to introduce me to several new interests, mostly new TV shows and/or movies I wasn't familiar with before. He and I helped each other to secure the deed to the house, splitting half of the down payment. This voice angel's face. If you gaze upon the face, you will fall dead. Do not look. He and I helped each other to secure the deed to the house, splitting half the down payment. It was later that week that we'd finally see the house. Admittedly, at the time, I remember just how odd it seemed to me when I saw it. Not even necessarily a bad feeling or anything, but more so familiar, like maybe I'd seen or heard about it before. But I couldn't place what it was that made it so familiar. It was a small one-story house with a wooden paneled roof in place of a typical shingled one. The paint, which might have been baby blue at the time, either that or aqua, was now faded and worn down, that only the dark, aged wood beneath was... The paint, which might have been baby blue at one time, either that or aqua, was now faded and worn down, that only the dark, aged wood beneath was... Oh, I see. What the fuck? Is my face on Instagram? Yeah, it's, I'm the one guy from Breaking Bad. In the most recent post I have in there, if you scroll over one, you'll see me next to a grave. The paint, which might have been baby blue at the time, either that or aqua, was now faded and worn down, that only the dark, aged wood beneath was visible, except for a few faded splotches here and there. Around the perimeter was a chain-link fence that was warped and marred with rust. In short, the place might as well have had a sign out front saying something like, "Abandon hope, ye who enter." But this wasn't going to keep us from happily sinking money into it. And just a week and a half later, we finally started moving in. Much like the outside, it was more or less just a decrepit and... Much like the outside, it was more or less just as decrepit and bleak on the inside as well. We couldn't take 2 steps without hearing the floorboards creak and feel like they'd give from beneath at any moment. Between that and the cobwebs strung out just about everywhere, you can kinda see what kind of place we're dealing with here. Connor and I, however, considered it a fixer-upper and decided this would be something we'd make work, by hook or by crook. Oh, for the first month or so, everything was just fine. We were even able to start fixing up the place to make it a bit more livable and do so without either of us risking bankruptcy. Nothing at all seemed all that out of the ordinary, at least not with the house itself. But with the neighbors, well, that was a bit of a different story. They all seemed very skittish around me and Connor. This didn't seem to bother him much. I, on the other hand, couldn't shake the uneasy feeling their anxious stares instilled in me. I always tried to be polite, even trying to make small talk with them, something I never used to do with people, much less complete strangers. Still, they just looked at me almost like I was diseased or something. I even distinctly recall spotting a few of them actually crossing themselves. Talk about overkill. I say that, but I guess they were right, weren't they? It wasn't long after that when we'd started hearing the scratching noises at nighttime. They always started out faint and then would gradually get louder and louder. The first night it happened, I told Connor, who apparently was oblivious to it. He told me that he didn't hear anything, while adding that this kind of thing could kind of be expected when moving into a new house, or rather an old house like this one, new to us, and that it was just another thing to get used to. Well, I figured that made sense, and over the next few days I sort of learned to get used to it. But then I started hearing the voices. The first night I heard it, I couldn't tell what it was that they were saying, so I wrote that off too. I figured maybe Connor left the TV on or something. And after about a week and a half of hearing them, however, that was when I decided to politely approach Connor about it. When I did, though, he swore up and down that he hadn't even been watching the TV at night, claiming that he'd always be in bed at 9:30. I told him about the voices I kept hearing, and he told me that, again, it was probably just the excitement getting to me or something. I was a little less convinced this time, but still decided not to press him further. That night, hearing them again, I grabbed a flashlight and headed down to the basement. I decided to investigate for myself. When I opened the hatch leading under the house, nobody was there. I went in and looked all around. Nothing. Just cobwebs and old wooden beams that looked like they were ready at any moment to collapse under their own weight throughout. When I got to the very back of the area, right under where my bedroom would be, I found what looked like a large bed of I don't even know what. It was pitch black or dark brown and shiny. What the hell? What is this stuff? I used a nearby silver... Fuck. I love how they just added random dialogue in there for no reason. How are the joint rolling skills? You know, I never rolled a joint of my own before, but I remember my buddy's brother rolled one, and I was very impressed at his abilities. It was nice and toit. A toit little joint. A nearby silver fuck. I used a nearby sliver of chopped... Fuck. I rolled my ankle? Oh yeah, I don't roll joints, I roll ankles. Ugh. I used a nearby sliver of chipped off wood from one of the beams to scrape up a bit of it. It was soft but thick and sticky and smelled awful like a road-killed carcass. The next day, after I got home from class, I immediately told Connor about it, showing him the bit of gunk from the night before. "What is this?" he asked, looking at me both confused and disgusted. I shrugged. "I don't know. I just found a large mass of it in the basement." He kept looking at me like I was some weirdo. "Here, I'll show you." I took him down to the basement. He and I both had to hold our breaths to keep from hurling right then and there from the smell, which was somehow even worse than last night. I showed him where I'd seen the stuff, which was when he gagged. It was still there, the circle of whatever the stuff was. "God, oh, that smells horrible," Connor exclaimed, covering his nose with his shirt. "We gotta get rid of this crap." "How? We don't even know what it is. What if it's toxic or something?" "Well, I can't take this smell anymore. That's what's toxic." With that, we promptly rushed out from beneath the house and went back to the living room. After debating for about half an hour, we finally agreed to have the landlord and poison control come out the next day to look at it and see how... Wait, landlord? What landlord? They bought the house. Why the fuck would there be a landlord? Right? Would there be a landlord? Unless they were going to rent it? Maybe the previous land? I don't know. I'm confused. No, the previous landlord would have been the previous owner, right? Have I ever done DMT? No. Nope. I don't know if I can handle that, to be honest with you. That might ruin my, my psyche. Oh! Ooh! 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 Yeah! Yeah! David De La Rosa Jr. with the big twerkable $30 amount. Thank you so much, my friends. Thank you so much, Joel. They gave me these COVID pills, man. They make me feel sick. Please, can I have extra twerking noises? That should help you a little bit. COVID pills. Wonder... I don't think I've heard of those, to be honest with you. Wonder what they are. Are they like antiviral pills or something? Because that's what it is, right? Virus, and then sometimes a lot of what people go through is like the bacterial infections that tend to like creep up while your body's fighting the virus. And I'm trying to think what it would be. I sound like that one keyboard sound effect. What keyboard sound effect? The one that's like, oof, 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 oof. Hiya. But thank you again, David. Feel better, my friend. I'm really sorry about that. I'm trying to think what it would be. I mean, I guess you could just read the label and I could check it out later, but... Do I ever read self-published work? I wish. I wish I had time to write, but I really don't. Or I guess it's not really, like, up my alley to really go into it. Sick as a dog and feeling extra lonely, can't express how happy I am. Oh, well, welcome, Kristen. Good to have you. Sorry, you're sick. Everybody's sick. What the heck? No more sickness. After debating for about half an hour, we finally agreed to have the landlord and poison control come out the next day to look at it and see how to get rid of it. That night was the first time I heard more clearly what the voices under the bed were actually saying. They spoke English, but their words were broken, mostly just repeating the same few words over and over again. Feed. Must feed. Eat. Juicy meat. Take now. It was creepy as hell, and I imagined a group of cannibals were under my bed. What was even stranger was their actual voices. They seemed to have some frantic, disjointed, high-pitched buzz to them, almost like an insect or something. Needless to say, sleep was out of the cards for me that night. The next morning, Connor and I were awakened by a knock at the door. It was one of our neighbors, living 2 houses down to the right of us, the Roddencrofts. They asked us if we'd seen their puppy, who had apparently ran into the house late last night and was last seen heading in our direction. I noticed they seemed rather skittish while telling us this, constantly darting their eyes around, never holding consistent eye contact, and also looking rather stiff. In other words, it wasn't hard to tell that they really didn't want to be at our house. Of course, we told them that we had no idea, but that we'd be more than happy to keep an eye out for them. Connor was even about to volunteer to help print out some missing posters when they just plastered on... Volunteer to help print them out some missing posters when they just plastered on half-assed poker smiles. Oh, I see. What the fuck? That's such a weird sentence. Feet. Give me the feet. Yeah, that's where they're under his bed. They want to suck his toes at any moment. Can't get sick if you're the illest alive. Illest alive. Ill. But then it like cuts to you and you're like laying in a bed with an IV and you're bald. That would be sad. Anyone else just fall asleep to murder mysteries? I think you'll find a nice home with all sorts of people like that here. Connor was even about to volunteer to help print them out some missing posters when they just plastered on half-assed poker smiles and cut him off, blurting out, "Thank you for your time. Sorry to bother you," before hurrying away back to their house. For a moment after that, Connor and I just stood there, looking confused at each other before shrugging and getting ready for the day. All through classes that day, I couldn't concentrate on anything except for the voices from the past night. That, plus the pit of gunk. Pit of gunk. Now you're under a tornado warning. At least I live in the basement. I live in the baby. Damn, a tornado warning. That is kind of scary, though. It's interesting. Around here we get them, but I've gotten them since I was like younger, but literally like never one time has one like touched down. You missed 44 minutes. What the hell? That, plus the pit of gunk, and now the incident with the neighbor's dog. All my mental stamina ended up going into trying to connect these dots. On my way home, I got a text from Connor saying that he'd stepped out and was on his way to meet with the landlord about the basement. As soon as I got home, I opened the front door and was hit with a horrible smell. I couldn't tell what it was at first, Part of me thought maybe it was the smell of the gunk having traveled up from under the house. I proved this to not be the case, however, when I took a whiff of the sample that we planned to show the landlord. No, this was a sharper odor, like something had just died. Finally, I went down and opened up the door leading under the house. I was right about one thing. Whatever the smell was, it definitely came from down there and had traveled up to the house. Covering my face with my hand to keep from dumping my stomach all over the place, I clicked on the flashlight on my phone and started heading towards the back of the basement, where the stench was strongest. What I saw next made my heart abruptly stop. There, coated in the gunk, was what remained of a small, light yellow furred puppy. God, it was horrible. It looked like the poor thing had been mauled by a wolverine, with large chunks, each the size of wiffle balls, dug out all over its body. Both of its ears and eyes were missing too. I was 2 seconds away from losing the little control I had over my stomach when I heard what sounded like skittering from up ahead. Looking up, I could see 6 tiny dots stab through the darkness in front of me, rapidly getting closer and closer. This caused me to drop my phone and frantically scrambled towards the door leading back into the living room. As soon as I'd made it back out, I latched the hatch and sat on it. I could feel it banging and pushing more and more violently from beneath me. I was sure that at any moment, whatever they were on the other side was somehow going to end up bashing their way through the hatch, hurling me off of it. Luckily for me, after staying frozen in a fetal position for about 10 minutes on top of the hatch, everything went quiet and still again. Another 5 minutes passed before Connor and the landlord finally arrived. When they found me, a pale, quivering pulp on top of the hatch leading under the house, they were both confused as all hell. When they asked what happened, all I could do was blabber like a moron. "Don't go in there. There's something down there. Don't go down there." Over and over. "What? What's down there?" Connor asked, no doubt figuring I'd finally lost my damn mind. I was still too shocked to even form a decent sentence. I don't know. Calm down, pal. Calm down," chimed the landlord. Here, let's get you some water." As they slowly managed to work me out of my paralysis from on top of the hatch, I was able to get one more broken phrase out of my babbling. Dog. Torn apart. I began to feel dizzy, lightheaded, like I'd faint, if not dead of a heart attack at any instant. After guiding me over to the sofa and getting me to somewhat calm down, at least enough to breathe normally, they again asked me what it was that I saw down there. I told them everything, or at least everything I could make out. The dog, the gunk, those eyes, everything. I didn't mention the voices I'd been hearing, and for one thing, I guess I didn't see any real connection at the time. Even if I had, however, I figured I was pushing my luck already with what I was telling them to not try and have my ass committed. My suspicion as far as that went was somewhat apparent with Connor, who cocked an eyebrow and replied, "Are you serious?" "Yes, I'm not making any of this up." Glancing over to the landlord, I could see that his face seemed more concentrated, as if trying to actually analyze what I was saying, as if maybe he actually believed me, and maybe even knew something. If he did know something, though, he didn't let on. He just said that what I said was interesting, but unlikely that anyone could be in the basement given how long the place had sat abandoned before we bought it. He said he'd personally checked the whole place from top to bottom when he rented the house to us, so it couldn't be squatters. He did say that the place had a thing, though, for rats to scamper about, especially in the basement where it was. "Rats? You're screwing with me, right? I can tell you right now it wasn't no damn rats that did that to that puppy." My heart began racing again. He just shrugged. "That's the best theory I got, pal." I could still see his face had that nervous look plastered on as he tried to push this load of crap at me. "Look," he started, obviously trying to shut me up about it all now. "I'll have pest control come down here and see what they find. okay?" I wanted to keep pushing further, to figure out what and why the details he was keeping from us were, but my still present state of confused dread and Connor telling me to relax and get a grip made me think better of it for the present. While the landlord on the phone was with pest control, I just sat there, still trembling. Almost involuntarily, my mind started remembering the events from before, the scurrying, the chattering voices, and that's when I started remembering more of what the voices said, something about juicy meat. Is that what was going on last night? They, whatever they are, were eating a puppy? About 15 minutes later, he came back and told me and Connor that pest control was on the way, and that we should consider finding someplace else to crash until they were done. How long should it take? I asked. Not long, but they said that there's a chance that they'll have to fumigate the place, which could take anywhere from 36 to 48 hours for them to deem the place safe to come back to again. I looked at Connor, who looked annoyed but shrugged and said all right. The next half hour was spent packing a couple of overnight bags and calling one of my buds from college to see if I could bunk at his place until the house was ready again. I asked Connor if he had a place to stay. He said he knew of a cheap motel that he could stay in for a while. That night, at my friend's house, I was flipping through the channels when a breaking news broadcast caught my attention. Couple found dead in home. Normally, I'd have kept going, but I saw that the house that they were filming looked very familiar, and it wasn't until they read the address that it hit me. It was the Rodencroft's house. I was in shock again. At approximately 9:30, authorities were alerted to a disturbance by neighbors who allegedly heard screaming from their house. Upon arriving, police found the victims, 39-year-old Caitlin Bex Rodencroft and her husband, 42-year-old James Hubert Rodencroft, sprawled out on their living room floor with heavy lacerations all over their bodies, as well as entrails having been removed viciously. They then showed images of the crime scene, and I almost threw up. There on the screen in one giant pool of blood were my neighbors. They looked like they had just gone through a paper shredder. Despite the heavy blurring of the images on the screen, I could still clearly see the dark red gashes covering both of them from top to bottom, and I saw the blood scattered erratically all across the surrounding area. The report went into detail that they found them with their stomachs ripped open and hollowed out. I couldn't stand to watch anymore, so I turned the TV off and immediately texted Connor and asked him if he'd seen the news. I told him about what I'd seen, and he said that we need to install a security system when we get to go home again. Now, I've never really trusted those things. All they do is beep at every little thing that sets it off by motion detection, even just small animals racing by. Plus, they were expensive as hell. Well, you got any better ideas? He responded over text. No, I said. I remember that my dad left me with this old Winchester rifle and an old Colt 45 revolver before he died last year. I told this to Connor and told him that I'd get it from the old family home, now owned by my aunt and uncle. He agreed and said that he'd still feel better with an actual security system. After I got the guns from my aunt's place, I got a text from the fumigators saying that the place was now safe. When I got back, I found... Shit, man, I made it a while. I made it a long distance without fucking up. Hey, Alex J, welcome back for 7 whole months. Says, love you, Joel, you the best. And to answer your question, yes, I'm kind of drunk. Oh yeah, I'm drinking. And David De La Rosa with the 5 says, Joel, it's Paxlovid, 400 milligrams. Interesting. Well, thank you for letting me know. I'll have to look that up. This story sounds literally like the movie you just saw. I was going to say it sounded to me a little bit like... it sounded a little bit like The Rats in the Walls, if you remember that old Lovecraft story. At least a similar vibe, but... Wait. No, I'm not drunk. I think Alex J said he was drunk. Yeah, I don't drink really, ever. I drink on my birthday, so much so that YouTube made my birthday stream age restricted. I don't know if that was related, but I mean, maybe I said some whacked out shit. Drinking and guzzling. I'm just guzzling vodka. No, I don't. No, I don't drink. Not a fan of drinking. I think it's bad for you, and it usually leads people down a pretty sad road, unfortunately. My voice is perfect for these stories. Thank you, madam. What story are we on? Well, this is actually just story 1, but this is just we only have one story to do for the Chilling app. And then we got a few to do for bonus content. But the bonus content actually might end up being as long as a normal video. When's my birthday? It's in June. Anything special planned for Halloween? Well, yeah, definitely a lot of like Halloween stories for sure coming your way from last year. But yeah, the Zodiac talk triggered YouTube. Yeah, now they want to kill me. YouTube really struck you down for your B-Day stream? I don't know, honestly. I think some people say that like sometimes age restriction can happen from people like randomly reporting the video, which is not good, and you know, obviously is like a lie, but it's not like I was like making money off the birthday stream, like as far as ad revenue goes, and it's not really a big deal if people continue to watch that video or not, since it's just like unlisted on a playlist. But or maybe there's some sort of algorithmic issue to it as well, that me saying the F word so many times during, I have no fucking clue, dude. I can't tell you why anything happens on YouTube. I'm literally never the wiser. When I got back, I found Connor talking to the landlord. "Everything all clear?" I asked the landlord. He turned to me, still looking like he was afraid or anxious of something, maybe even guilt, and told me that we could come back into the house, but to stay out of the basement. I looked at him confused. Why? What the hell's down there? "Look," he sighed. "Just keep out from under there for a few days at least, okay? Whatever it was down there, they told me it required some real strong stuff to get rid of it. Stuff that tends to take a bit to wear off and ain't good to breathe." And I relented at that. It made sense, but something about the way that he was saying it gave me the feeling that it wasn't actually the truth, or at least not all of it. Finally he left, and Connor and I had the house back. All I was able to be concerned with, however, was the news report, and of course, that would be the first thing I'd try to talk to him about. "I wonder who hated them so much that they go and do that," Connor said. "Who?" I replied. Oh, whoops. "Who?" I replied. "More like what?" He cocked his eyebrow at me. "What do you mean?" "Come on, you saw the footage, right? You really think a person did that?" "Okay, well, what's your theory, detective?" Unfortunately, he kind of had me there. While I wasn't sure what it was, though, something was telling me that it had something to do with whatever happened to that puppy in the basement. That night, I'd hear them again, chattering and bickering. "Feed. Must feed. Eat." Unsurprisingly, this kept me on high alert all night. During this, another thought also managed to worm its way into my panicked brain. These things, whatever they were, could they have been the ones to rip the Rodencrofts apart like that? Not to mention before that, with a puppy. What the hell even are they? The next morning, having gotten no sleep whatsoever, I decided to skip the early bird classes and spend some time at the local cafe, searching both for more articles about the Rodencrofts' murders and possibly about another place to stay. That was how I ran into Pamela. She was in the process of fixing another cappuccino, the 10th one by then, when she remarked, "Tough on you, huh?" I looked at her confused. "Your classes," she said, gesturing to my laptop. "Must be going rough on you with all them cappuccinos you keep knocking back." I chuckled dryly. "Oh, no, this isn't school stuff." "Ah," she said, sliding the coffee next to me. "Well, something's got to be keeping you up. You look like you've been burning some kind of candle at both ends. You pulling a lot of doubles at work or something?" "No." "You a partier?" She winked before remarking. "Maybe some pretty girls keeping you busy, huh?" I chuckled again before... I chucked up. I chuckled. I schmuckled. Yeah, 10 cappuccinos, your heart would be fucking blowing up. I don't even know. Why are they eating feet? Dude, these monsters in this story love fucking feet. I chuckled again before replying, No, nothing like that." "Well, then what is it? Unless you're about to tell them that I've just been feeding your little caffeine addiction here for the past hour and a half." "What?" "Unless you're about to tell me that I've just..." "Then what is it? Unless you're about to tell me that I've just been feeding your little caffeine addiction here for the past hour and a half, just for the hell of it." I hesitated for a moment. I wasn't sure how, or even really if, I should tell her about what had been going on. For one thing, I still wasn't sure what was even really going on myself. Part of me at the time still had the idea that the voices I was hearing were just in my head. Another thing, though, was the idea that even if she did think I was nuts... Wait, fuck. Yeah, all the monsters in the basement are actually all my OnlyFans subscribers. Feed. Give us feed now. Another thing, though, was the idea that even if she didn't think I was nuts, what would she know? Of course, she looks like she has been here for a while. She could know something, I thought to myself. "Yeah, you're probably gonna think I'm losing it," I said, chuckling nervously. She just looked at me, urging me to spill it. "You see, I've been hearing these weird noises from under my house." "Noises?" she asked, her face growing curious. "Yeah, like, I don't know, like voices?" I instantly cringed after saying that, anticipating to look up and see her looking at me like I just told her the sky was falling. Instead, I could see excitement growing on her face. "Voices, you say? Under your house?" "Yeah. You hear anything they say?" I thought briefly about the nights I'd hear them scurrying around from underneath me. I thought about how I'd hear them go back and forth, about how they'd take me in my sleep. Feed. Must feed, eat, juicy meat, and take me now. I told her this. Take me now. Whoops, I meant to say take now. Take me now. Hey, Debbie Cogdill with the 5 says, "Thanks for working so hard for us and giving me endless entertainment." You're welcome, Debbie. Thank you for the support. Appreciate you. Thank you. You can have children in your basement and feed monsters. It's 2022 or whatever. Yeah, is that normal? Is that legal now? I thought about how I'd hear them go back and forth, and about how they'd take me in my sleep. Feed. Must feed. Eat. juicy meat, take now, all of those things. I told her this, and her brow furrowed, concentrated in thought. It sounds like you've been hearing them vermin. I cocked my eyebrow to her. What? It sounds to me like you've been hearing them vermin. I cocked my eyebrow at her. Yeah, I used to have a real bad time with those suckers back in the day. She giggled before adding, if the old stories are true, at least. Now, I was the curious one. What do you mean? You've seen something before? You've seen this before? Well, not really. Like I said, it was just something Granny used to talk about. You know, one of their little ghost stories to scare us at nighttime. What was the story? I sounded desperate, and I was. If Pamela knew what these things were, and if they were actually real, then she might also know how to get rid of them. Well, now I couldn't tell you exactly where it was they came from or when they started shacking up here in Old Willow. Like I said, I only remember what my granny used to tell me about them. She always tell me about how they'd live under her house, you know? No, not her house. She'd always tell me about how they'd live under your house. Said they'd scurry around under the floors and come at nighttime. They'd start coming out to feed, you know? They don't like the light. Makes them sensitive, apparently, so they nest under houses and dig around like little moles from one house to another. Wait, I interjected. You said they're vulnerable to sunlight? Yeah, why? I didn't answer this. I shook my head and motioned for her to continue. Yeah, they like it dark, right? So that's when they come out for feeding? Wait. Yeah, why? I didn't answer this. I shook my head and motioned for her to continue. Yeah, they like it dark, so that's when they'll come out for feeding. Probably a stupid question, but exactly what do they like feeding on? She smirked and said, anything meaty. They love 'em some man meat, you know? She snickered, and I chuckled nervously. I wasn't finding this as funny as she apparently was. Oh, come on, that's just yanking your chain. You don't believe this junk, do you? I took another gulp of my coffee. I wasn't sure what to say. Yeah, I'm no believer in ghosts or monsters, despite what I said earlier about having grown up in this town, but at the same time, I couldn't shake the horrible feeling that Pamela may not be yanking my chain about this as much as she thinks she is. No, I said finally. But I like to ask. Say, hypothetically, that I did believe you. How would I get rid of them? She cocked her eyebrow, scoffing. Please, humor me. Well, I suppose you could try mouse traps. Maybe lure them out in the sun, let them cook for a while, God, I feel like this... The way they wrote this character, it like suddenly developed a like southern drawl for some reason. What if the Bluetooth speaker doesn't pop up though? Oh, there might be a pair button, you know what I mean? There's like a button you hold and it like pairs or like sends a signal out or something. I forget what the pair button looks like. Well, suppose you could use mouse traps. Maybe lure them out in the sun, let them cook for a little while for serving them up as barbecue. Hell, I really can't even give you any tips. It's not like Granny ever told me how they actually got rid of them. I see, I replied, downing my coffee. My heart had now fallen into the pit of my stomach. What was I going to do? If even Pamela couldn't help, then who could? I was about to pack up my laptop and head back to the house when Pamela stopped me. Ahem, she said, gesturing to her register. Oh, I replied, chuckling. My bad, how much? She tapped the keys on her register before replying, For all them lattes you down, your damage is $21.57. I looked at my wallet to see, shamefully, that I only had $25 left, and I still needed to get gas on the way back. I don't suppose you take a card, do you? She smiled and shook her head. Afraid not, darling, she said. I sighed and was about to give her cash when she put her hand out, stopping me. But for a handsome, respectful feller like you, I believe I can let you go. She winked before adding, that is, so long as you agree to take me out to dinner. Sure, I replied, and her grin widened. Great. Tonight work for you? Say around 8? I nodded my head. She then tore off a chunk of the receipt paper and scrawled out her address. I'll see you then, she said with another wink. I took it and packed up my stuff before leaving the cafe and heading for home. On the way, I thought of how I might find some way to get rid of these things, these vermin. I wondered if maybe bringing Pamela over to the house, perhaps armed with something, might get some kind of result. Then I had the idea to bring Pamela over to the house for dinner. I figured aside from saving money, this might at least give me some measure of comfort. Maybe if they start up again, she'll hear it and she might be able to help. I spent the rest of the day trying to tidy the house as much as possible. I remember Connor asking me why I was trying to clean the house, joking that it was a little late for spring cleaning. I then filled him in on the situation with Pamela. He immediately started teasing me about picking up coffee shop chicks. Look, it's nothing serious, okay? I just agreed to bring her over for dinner in exchange for free coffee. Hey, you don't gotta explain it to me, pal, he remarked, snickering. Don't worry, I won't get in y'all's way. I just rolled my eyes and continued cleaning. Almost before I even realized it, it was already 7:15 p.m., and after taking one last look around the house, satisfied that it looked at least mostly presentable enough for company, I left to pick up Pamela from her house using the address that she gave me. When I arrived, about 20-something minutes later, she was standing on her porch waiting. Right on time, ain't you? She commented as she got in the car. Well, I replied with a chuckle. I figured it'd make for a good first impression, right? She actually responded by giggling. So where are we headed for supper? Well, actually, I was wondering if... how'd you feel about possibly having dinner at my place? Oh, she squealed, winking. Plan on whining and dining me in one go, huh? I chuckled nervously and replied, maybe just stick to the dining tonight, you know? What do you say? She snickered before giving me another sly wink. When we returned to the house, I saw that Connor's car was still parked in the driveway. So much for not getting in the way, huh? I thought as we got out. Despite this, though, when I went inside, he was nowhere in sight. Connor? I called out. Nothing. I went from room to room calling out his name. They were all empty and silent. Where is he? I wondered. I guess he decided to go out with a friend too, using their car maybe. Well, I respect Pamela for being so forward. Sucks that she has to get eaten by rat people. Can someone please help Cat? Who's Cat? What's going on with the cat? I was about to head back out into the living room to join Pamela when a foul smell assaulted my nose. It was a sharp, overwhelming smell, dominating my asthma. What the hell? God, what is that? In the back of my mind, I found something familiar about it. Then I realized that it was the smell of something that had just died. Not only that, but something that had just died in the house. Concentrating closely, I realized that it was coming from under the floorboards. And that's when I felt a sinister chill climb up my spine. This was the same thing I smelled when I found the... Everything all right? Pamela asked from behind me, causing me to jump a bit. She looked at me with wide eyes, my reaction having startled her. "What's wrong, hon?" I shook my head and smiled nervously. "Oh, it's nothing. Just give me one moment. I need to check something real quick." For a moment, she continued looking at me, puzzled, before shrugging and heading back into the dining room. I left the room and went out through the front door and went around to the back of the house, to the basement. There I found that this was indeed where the horrid smell was coming from. Standing up close, I realized the smell was somehow even stronger than I remembered it smelled before. Whatever it was, couldn't have been dead long. My hand shook as I reached to open the basement door, afraid of what I'd see on the other side. What was it gonna be? What was it gonna be this time? Another animal? A person, maybe? And that's what caused another far more haunting suggestion to enter my mind. Will I find Connor in here? Taking in a huge breath, I grabbed and threw open the basement door. Immediately I was forced to turn away and retch. It was exactly what I'd feared. Actually, it was even worse than I'd imagined. There, ripped apart senselessly and cocooned in that dark, smelly gunk, was the shredded carcass of my roommate. Just like with the puppy before him, there wasn't a single patch of skin that hadn't been mauled almost beyond recognition. I wasn't able to even fully register the gruesome scene, though, before I heard the sounds of scuttling from further back inside the basement. I could hear the movement coming towards me at a rapid pace. Who's there?" I called out weakly into the darkness. They continued to get closer and closer, teetering like rats as they scurried along. "He's right there," I heard a raspy voice hiss from the darkness. "He's right there. We have him now. More juicy meat." This caused my heart to stop cold. I stood frozen as one of the things finally came into view from the darkness of the basement. It was a huge and emaciated. Hey, Lynn with the 2 says Joel's voice is smoother than a stick of butter stuck in your socks. I have Skittles gummies. Oh, that's pretty good. They make those? That sounds interesting. Yeah, dinner date ruined. What was his plan on bringing the girl back there? That she might just, like, even though she didn't know anything, she just might be able to figure it out, like, as a team? It was huge and emaciated, with bones that pushed out against its taut, ghoulish albino skin, ghoulishly scuttling. It was huge and emaciated, with bones that pushed out against its taut, ghoulishly albino skin. Its face was gaunt, and it had dark, marbled, beady eyes. Its mouth was tattered and gums were fully exposed, bearing tiny, jagged teeth like those of a shark. It was scurrying rapidly along the ground on its equally bone-thin limbs. "Juicy meat! Must feed!" In one motion, the creature bounded from where it was towards me. Its claws were outstretched, ready to seize me. I broke from my terrified trance just in time to slam the door before it could have me. I felt it crash against the door, and quickly propped a couple of nearby cinder blocks against it before bolting around like a bat out of hell back into the house. After all but hurling myself through the door and locking it, I stood braced against it, panting frantically. "What happened to you?" Pamela exclaimed, staring at me with eyes the size of serving platters. What? Pamela exclaimed, staring at me with eyes the size of serving platters. I just stood there, breathless, my heart racing. My thoughts were so frantic that I couldn't even make a sound or even to scream. Finally, after a full minute, I wheezed out, "Vermin!" She cocked her eyebrow. Huh? Under the house! The vermin! They killed My tongue froze, and my heart skipped about 5 beats when I heard and felt a loud knocking from the floorboards. As they got louder, the vermin. Some Lord of the Rings vibes. Yeah, what's that one game? It's called Vermintide. You guys ever play Vermintide? That's the kind of vibe I get. Those games were pretty freaking fun. There's another Warhammer like co-op shooter coming out soon. I think they advertised it at Gamescom. I don't know if you'd seen it. Are these real stories? Well, tonight it's not real stories. It's actually just creepypastas. As they got louder and more furious, I realized... Wait. My tongue froze, and my heart skipped about 5 beats when I heard and felt a loud knocking from the floorboards. As they got louder and more furious, I realized in horror that they were attempting to breach through the floorboards. I was about to scream for Pamela to rush to the door where I was, but it was already too late. From directly in front of her, a large white claw broke through the floor and reached... From directly in front of her, a large white claw broke through the floor and snatched her by the ankle. Her jaw fell, and she tried to scream but was only able to let out a choked, gasping sound. 2 more sets of claws then broke through the floorboard and grabbed her. I tried to rush over to her, but she was gone almost as soon as I got to where she'd been, pulled down below the floor into the basement. I looked down to see a dark, empty hole where Pamela had been standing only seconds ago. "Pamela!" I shouted. "Hang on, I'm coming!" Before I could try and come down through the hole, though, I heard the sounds of them scurrying back towards it. I immediately retracted away and ran to my bedroom, locking the door and pushing the dresser against it. I threw myself into my bed and huddled into a ball, waiting for them to inevitably break down the door and snatch me. Oddly, fortunately, the night passed without this happening. While it was a relief that I'd made it through the night, though, I hadn't moved from my room at all. I was afraid that one of them would be lingering outside my bedroom door, just waiting for me to try and come out so it could take me like the others. But it looks like I'm screwed now anyway. I know it's only a matter of time before I'm a goner too. I'm scared to move from my bed. Right now, it might be the only protection I have, at least until they break out from below, to drag me down into the basement, their nest, and feast on me. Is this chilling or bonus content? This story specifically, Vermin's Nest, was chilling content, but the upcoming content we're about to read is from the boner content. God, I remember when that word content became like conventional, like vernacular on YouTube. It's probably like back in like 2007 or like maybe 2007 to 2009, like just, you know, content creators and that whole like term. I don't know why, like just the term content, it just frustrates me because it's like, it's sort of like dehumanizes the concept of creating shit, but at the same time I kind of understand it is what it is. This is why you don't live in the city anymore, because the rats come up through your floorboards and kill you. Ever see the movie Pan's Labyrinth? I did actually see Pan's Labyrinth in theaters when it first came out, and I remember like not being too stoked about it. Like I thought it was gonna be like way more whimsical than it was, like way more like anime-esque, but it was actually pretty fucking depressing for the most part. Okay, let me bring up the bonus content. You always preferred Ben Drowned. Man, it's a classic, huh? Okay. Or I guess you could call it bonus members only content. Let me just check something real quick here. Wait, where am I at? Members, wait, Cops Part 1, Avenging. Huh. I don't know why I'm like confused. Iron, Gray Clouds, Soda. Oh, I see. Oh yeah, this shit I already read. My bad. I gotta, oh yeah, there we go. Episode 1, The Jamestown Murders. Episode 2, I'll See You in My Dreams. Okay. Episode 1 of what? Let's see, and then this one. Episode 3, Dark Water Blues. Okay, yeah, so this is like, so this bonus content on this one will be, okay, so the 2 large ones, 7 pages, 11 pages. Okay, we're Gucci. We Gucci, bruh. Hey, what does it say? I don't know if I can read that out. What does it say? AI? Is that an AI? What is it? AIL3CSL? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Like a lot of people do. Leet speak, but I can't quite make it out. But either way, thank you for the 20. You have to let me know how to say your name. And Debbie Cogdale, thank you for the 3. Thank you guys so much for the support. You're giving me a bonus. Police stories, yeah, for sure. At some point. Wasn't there like a subreddit? Tales from the squad car or something like that? Your rent went up? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That shit's fucking annoying. Alright, let's do this thing. December 31st, 1918. In a world not unlike our own, the great city of Darkwater, a vibrant maritime metropolis on the central coast of Massachusetts, prepares to celebrate the coming of a new year. The end of the Great War sees thousands of migrants flee the shattered ruins of Europe, seeking redemption in the land of opportunity. The slums of Darkwater are packed with Italian, Irish, and Eastern European immigrants, their labor leached by tyrannical factory owners who swell their already sizable fortunes. The rot of crime and corruption infests every facet of daily life. Fanatical gangs of thuggish criminals prey on the weakest of citizens, while cultish secret societies of the super-rich remain aloof to the overwhelming problems of poverty and pollution. Yet just outside Darkwater Port, as the city's occupants reveled in the New Year's festivities, something rumbles in the deep, briny depths of the ocean. From out of nowhere, a huge, roaring tidal wave rose from the surging waters, smashing into the city and its unsuspecting denizens. Thousands disappeared without a trace in the oceanic maelstrom of... Maelstrom? This is crazy so far, holy shit. A bonus boner. Anyone else have a broken foot right now? I do, and it's boring. Oh, yikes, broken foot. Yeah, to what extent is it broken? You have to have it in a cast or like a splint? Why is everything so expensive right now? Well, during COVID, they printed out 33% of all the dollars ever generated by the Federal Reserve in the history of the United States of America were all generated in the span of like 1 to 2 years during COVID while the economy was shut down, creating a lot of inflation. and therefore making things more expensive. And then the unfortunate thing too is a lot of companies are trying to play like catch up in regards to their like fucking profit margins as well, you know, because of losses and all that kind of stuff. So it's a fucking rough time in the economy, to be honest with you, and the government is just like continuing to endlessly spend dollars on just any possible thing ever. So it does not seem as if though inflation will ever stop at this point. It's just gonna get worse and worse until a fucking candy bar is like $30. Thousands disappear without a trace in the oceanic maelstrom of rushing water and debris. But as the great wave subsides and slips back into the ocean, strange things are left behind among the waterlogged carcass of Darkwater City. Ancient, mysterious artifacts churned up from the ocean floor, eldritch creatures that long slumbered in the deep, dark depths. Over the next 6 months, broken survivors were rejoined by those that have managed to escape the disaster. Those that returned in the summer of 1919 found their city to be very different than when they had left. A ubiquitous fog hung in the air, obscuring sodden streets and arterial alleyways. Strange figures lurked among the darkened ruins of the city's abandoned financial district, while from sewer grates, menacing bestial creatures... Bestial? Is it bestial? Bestial. Bestial? Really? Oh, bestial. Okay, I think it's... Or bestial. Bestial. Let me look up the definition just so I get this right. Bestial. Okay. Of or resembling a beast. Bestial. But Halloween is almost here. I know, isn't it crazy? We're about to go into September. Bestial, yeah. Can you upload these to YouTube so we can watch them later? Yeah, so there's a playlist for the live streams. It's like, if you go to the playlist option and you just find the live streams playlist, you can listen to like all of them from newest to oldest in that order. It's just that the live streams are like unlisted, so it doesn't like... I make them unlisted so it's not like clogging up my display page, you know what I mean? You probably see YouTube channels where it has like, where it says like streamed 4 days ago or something. And to me, sometimes it looks okay, and if like the channel's like solely based around streaming, it's fine. But a lot of the times, I just think it gets in the way, and it actually kind of hurts your algorithmic approach, where if people don't want to like watch your live stream as like a normal video, then it hurts like other videos like distribution afterwards. Strange figures lurked among the darkened ruins of the city's abandoned financial district, while from sewer grates, menacing bestial howls emanated from the deepest recesses of the underground waterways. But there were less hideous things left behind by the great crashing tidal wave. Opulent treasures and priceless artifacts from some sunken civilization, riches so vast that the world has not seen its kind in millennia. Soon the city was once again Soon the city was once again overrun by criminal gangs, this time joined by a legion of mercenaries and bounty hunters in the pay of those fat cats who wished only to reclaim their lofty domains, while the city's poor... what is this word? E-K-E? Ek? Kek? Eek. What is it? To get with great difficulty, usually used without. Eke out. Oh, okay. And as a noun? Can it be used as like a noun? the city's poor Oh, wait. Law of domains. While the city's poor Oh, I see. It's a verb. My bad. Soon the city was once again overrun by criminal gangs, this time joined by a legion of mercenaries and bounty hunters in the pay of those fat cats who wished only to reclaim their lofty domains, while the city's poor eke out a living among the rotten, jetsam-strewn remnants. This is where my story begins. My name is Skip Walters, a journalist for the local newspaper known as the Darkwater Chronicle. I have returned to my hometown seeking to Dude, I'm already liking this story a lot, bro. Like, I don't know why. I'm just, like, getting fucking invested. I have returned to my hometown seeking to uncover the dark, murky secrets left behind by the Great Wave, as well as the shady dealings of the city's returning population and those of the poor souls left behind. No story is too dangerous for this reporter, no enigma too vexing, no puzzle too confounding. I will not tire in my quest to bring you the latest news and stories from the darkest, most deadly city in America. Which brings me to my first tale, one of furtive dealings and fatal consequence with a twist of oceanic mysticism. Allow me to tell you the story of the Jamestown murders. What? Oh, okay. Interesting. I don't know. I'm getting giddy about this shit. It's like some weird Lovecraft shit, but like you got the fucking what's that shit called? Noir. You know what I mean? Lovecraft noir. Lovecraft noirian. Lovequarian. Sharon River. Okay. Allow me to tell you the story of the Jamestown murders. Across the Sharon River, just north of downtown Darkwater, lies the historic district of Jamestown. The roots of the predominantly Irish neighborhood go back to 1620, when it was first occupied by English settlers during the reign of King James I. However, the huge influx of Irish immigrants escaping the famine of 1840s are what gives Jamestown the demographic it has today. Mrs. Mary O'Dwyer, god damn it. I'm not familiar with like Irish names. I guess they should be pretty. O'Dwyer. Jamestown, PA. No, I think this takes place in Massachusetts, but like in a fictional city named Darkwater. And this is like a district of Darkwater called Jamestown. Mrs. Mary O'Dwyer is a descendant of just those people, a hard-working Stevesdore's wife. What is this word? Stevesdore? Gotta look that shit up. One who works at or is responsible for loading and unloading ships in a port. Okay. Stevedore. Oh, I read that wrong. Okay. A hard-working stevedore's wife, Mrs. O'Dwyer lost her husband when the Great Wave crashed down onto their small family home and swept the poor Mr. O'Dwyer away. Distraught, she sought refuge with relatives in New York for a few months while repair and reconstruction efforts were prepared and put into motion. Her return was not a joyous one. The Great Wave had left her home a sodden wreck, and for the brief time she lived there, her existence was a tough one. With no work available and no husband to support her, Mrs. O'Dwyer was reliant solely on the charity of others. Re-emergent businesses such as local bakers. Steve from Minecraft, yeah, it's probably it. People who work in the mines. Re-emergent businesses, such as local bakers or diners, found themselves receiving weekly visits from the widow O'Dwyer, her cheeks pale and sunken as she begged for weekly alms. Then just last week, by some terrible twist of fate, Mrs. O'Dwyer was viciously murdered in her own home. Her slaying coincided with the murder of another woman from the same Jamestown neighborhood just a few nights prior. Police arrested a friend of Mrs. O'Dwyer's late husband in connection with her murder, given that he was the last person to see her alive. The situation didn't add up. Why would a dead man's friend murder his widow in such a savage, violent manner? There was only one thing for it. I threw on my overcoat and headed over onto... There was only one thing for it. I threw on my overcoat and headed on over to Jamestown's police precinct. An old friend still owed me a favor. The Jamestown police precinct is housed in an intimidating... Police precinct is housed... Oh, housed, like located, okay. The Jamestown's police precinct is housed in an intimidating neo-Gothic building that still bears the scars of the Great Wave. Crowned with the skeletal pieces of wreckage from structures that didn't survive the disaster, the precinct is haunted by that smell of rot and brine that, these days, seems to plague the entire city. At first, my confidential contact was hesitant to talk. The murders were a major police priority, and any leaks to the press would surely be met with a harsh punishment. But I had come prepared. Oh, so what would you do if you saw cosmic horror corn people? I guess I would have to put them in the microwave and pop them. Put a little butter and salt and we're good to go. Cthulhu, more like... Cthulhu... Cthulhu Redenbacher. But I had come prepared. A fifth of his favorite Irish whiskey was all it took to loosen the man's jaw. As he began to talk, my suspicions were confirmed. He too doubted the guilt of the suspect in custody. I feel like I skipped a sentence. At first, my confidential contact was hesitant to talk. The murders were a major police priority, and any leaks to the press would surely be met with a harsh punishment. But I had come prepared. A fifth of his favorite Irish whiskey was all it took to loosen the man's jaw. As he began to talk, my suspicions were confirmed, and he too doubted the guilt of the suspect in custody. "I don't like him for the murders," the anonymous officer confessed. "I've seen some killers in my time, and this guy ain't no killer. He keeps talking about a book that the victim found before she died, only he gets scared when he does. Just locks up and stops talking to us for a while. We searched the house and we found a ton of books, but none like the one the suspect described." I confirmed the address of the O'Dwyer house and then headed over to talk to the neighbors of the deceased. If anyone had heard Mrs. O'Dwyer mention this mysterious... Fucking Christ. If anyone had heard Mrs. O'Dwyer mention this mysterious old tome, it would be them. The O'Dwyers lived just a short walk from an area of Jamestown known as Gallows Hill, famous for being the location of the huge stone obelisk that marks the site of a well-known Revolutionary War battle. I had not stepped foot in Jamestown since the Great Wave, let alone visited Gallows Hill. I found the obelisk intact, but it was now somewhat different to what I remembered. The previously bare stone of the monument was now completely covered in vegetation, thousands of creeping vines with knife-shaped leaves that snaked all the way up its pointed peak. Fuck. I can't believe I fucked that up, mate. Fucking hell. Shannon Fox with a 150 Canadian. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you. New York cheesecake. The previously bare stone of the monument was now completely covered in vegetation. thousands of creeping vines with knife-shaped leaves that snaked all the way up to its pointed peak. It was unlike any kind of plant life I had seen before, muddy green tendrils pulsing and glistening in the dull light of a cloudy afternoon. One of the residents, still in the process of cleaning out his home, eyed the monument nervously as he worked. After locating the O'Dwyer house, I knocked upon a neighbor's door. Locks clattered and clicked before they opened. Locks clattered and clicked before they opened just a sliver, and an elderly woman's weathered face peered out from the other side. "Excuse me, ma'am. I'm from the Darkwater Chronicle. I'm wondering if you could have a moment of your time." Fuck. "Excuse me, ma'am. I'm from the Darkwater Chronicle. I wonder if I could have a moment of your time." I adopted a chipper tone. Did that sound chipper? "Excuse me, ma'am. I'm from the Darkwater Chronicle. I wonder if I could have a moment of your time." I adopted a chipper tone, hoping to rid the woman of her nervous disposition. "You want to know about the murders, don't you?" Her weary blue eyes spoke of the great way. Her weary gray... Fuck. You want to know about the murders, don't you?" Her weary blue eyes spoke of the great wave, and the horror that it had wrought. "Yes, ma'am," I replied. "I just have a few questions for you regarding the untimely death of Mrs. O'Dwyer." The woman sighed, stepped back from the door, and welcomed me inside. She had evidently kept a neat and tidy home before the great wave, but despite her best efforts, her home still felt damp and depredated. Patches of mold were forming. I gotta make sure this is right. Depredated. Okay, I got that right. Sweet. What does it mean, though? As in looted, plundered. Okay. Lootered. It's a loot shooter. It's a plundered blunder. You were watching one of my videos when you got this recommended. Well, welcome. Yeah, not too as many people here tonight, but I guess it is Saturday, so. And I was talking about conspiracies, so immediately destroyed and killed. Why do people with blue eyes always seem sad? You would think it was one with such pretty eyes would be happy. I don't know. I would guess that's... I can't say that I agree with that opinion, though I guess I understand where you might be coming from, but I can't, look back on someone with blue eyes and... Because, to me, it's not really, the color of your eyes that indicate emotion. It's more of, just, I don't know, the expression on your face, like the furrowing of your brow around your eyes, or some sort of, I don't know, just the shape of that your face is taking around the eyes, Yeah, and Hannah's blue-eyed husband is a happy camper. Always happy. She had evidently kept a neat and tidy home before the great wave, but despite her best efforts, her home still felt damp and depredated. Patches of mold were forming on sodden sections of wallpaper, the home pervaded by that ever-present scent of salt and rot. Over cups of hot tea, Mrs. Rosa Farley politely answered my queries to the best of her abilities. She explained that she had not seen or heard anything unusual on the night of the murder, that Mrs. O'Dwyer had not received any visitors on the evening in question. However, she did reveal that the only other... She did reveal that the other murder... Hey, Miss Molly with the 5 says, "Joel, my love, how are you tonight? Just sewing some patches on my vest and chilling while listening to you tonight. Hope you're well." Thank you, Miss Molly. I'm doing good. I'm liking these stories, and I really enjoy reading some creepypastas, or whatever you want to call them. Some amateur horror, well, not amateur, but horror fiction, I guess you could say. After all the other stories I've read. Well, thank you again, Miss Molly. Good to see you. What kind of patch you putting on there? However, she did reveal that the other murder victim was in fact a friend of Mrs. O'Dwyer's that had visited the window. Okay, I'm gonna go crazy. Hey guys, how about I go crazy? However, she did reveal that the other murder victim was in fact a friend of Mrs. O'Dwyer that had visited the widow on the night she was killed. Despite being a few nights apart, it appeared the two murders were indeed connected. She was worried about Mary. We all were, Mrs. Farley began, sipping hot tea from the porcelain cup that she held with frail fingers. Her mind was deteriorating, you know. Ever since she lost her husband to the great wave, she just wasn't the same. At first, it was just a melancholy that plagued her. She seemed crushed by the loss. But the day after I helped her clean out the house, that's when she started talking to herself. Mary's friend tried to talk to her, to convince her to return to her relatives in New York. She didn't take that well. Not well at all. Do you think Mrs. O'Dwyer was driven mad with grief? I asked, scribbling in a small notebook as the woman spoke. Maybe. I can't imagine a person who could suffer that kind of loss and remain unscathed. I solemnly agreed, taking one last sip of hot tea before placing my notebook back in my coat pocket. Just one more thing. You don't happen to know anything about a book that Mrs. O'Dwyer had come into possession? Just one more thing. You don't happen to know anything about a book that Mrs. O'Dwyer had come into possession of before she was murdered? Mrs. Farley froze in her seat, giving me a look that was deeply unsettling. I was waiting for Yumi. I was waiting for you to ask me that, Mr. Walters. Her tone was full of dread as she spoke. Yes, there was a book. We found it when we were clearing out the mess that the wave had left. An old book, bound in black whale skin with pages that felt like thin sheets of leather. I asked Mary what the book was, but it appeared that she had never seen it before. Where is the book now? I don't know. She shook her head, eyes filled with anguish as she maintained eye contact. But it was only after we found that book that Mary began to act so strangely. Her appetite returned, her mood lifted, and she was full of life again. People said she was whispering to herself, seeing things that weren't there, but I know otherwise. She wasn't talking to herself, Mr. Walters. She was talking with her dead husband. And how could you possibly know that? I asked in confusion. Mrs. Farley leaned closer. Fuck. Mrs. Farley. Summer Markela, sorry, with the 5 says, my tire blew out on my way home, so now I'm stuck on the side of the road waiting for my boyfriend to come and help me change it. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, at least you got a boyfriend that you could call to help with it. Imagine if you were single. That would suck. No, but I'm sorry. Hopefully we can keep you company, stay safe. Be sure to, I would suggest stay in your car, especially if it's dark out. And just lock your doors, you know what I mean? Because you never know. And if you're on the side of the road, hopefully you are. Hopefully your car's out of the way of traffic. You can put your 4-ways on and shit. I don't know if you have any, what's it called? Like flares, you know what I mean? You can put that a distance back just so people can see you, because it can be rather dangerous being out in the highway or wherever you might be. Don't want somebody to hit you. So yeah, definitely put your 4-ways on. What's up, Ree? Joel, do I sense salt? Wait, what am I salty about? I forgot what I even said. Mrs. Farley leaned across the table, her pale blue eyes seething with intensity. "Because, Mr. Walters," the woman hissed. "Because, Mr. Walters," the woman hissed. "She told me so." Late that afternoon, I headed over to Darkwater Coroner's Later that afternoon, I headed over to the Fuck me. Why am I struggling with this? I was like blasting through the last story and now I just like lost my mojo. Late that afternoon, I headed over to the Darkwater Coroner's office, nestled on a leafy street in the south end of the city. The doctor that had performed the autopsy on Mrs. O'Dwyer. Yeah, that's why. My fucking throat is like already dead. So annoying, man. That's like the only shitty thing about doing this is you can't do it just for like ever. Your fucking throat just starts to like squeak. Man, this shit's so fucking good. Except it's burning my throat now. Hey! Oh my god. Terry King, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships, which is perfect timing. Welcome to the Buttersock Cult. 2. Vincent Scody, Ryan Smith. Wait, did we already miss the other ones? Okay. Well, that's weird. Wonder why, if it's gifted. Did I miss them? Unless they're like above it. So it should be 5 people, right? But I don't see them popping up. Okay, Vincent Scody, Ryan Smith. Well, it only gave it to like 2 people there, which is weird. 3 more to be denounced. To be determined. Yeah, I guess. That's weird. Jacob, I thought you were out fighting crime. Just put acid on the throat. Yeah, let me take a tab of acid. Yeah, maybe the sex bot's got the gifted subs. Sometimes we have to turn on the gift option. Oh, okay. So, but you would think that like... But you would think it would only give it to people that have it turned on, right? Turned on. That's weird. Maybe it's like pending for people who are like AFK in chat or something. I don't even know. Later that afternoon, I headed over to the Darkwater's coroner office, nestled on a leafy street in the south end of the city. The doctor that had performed the autopsy on Mrs. O'Dwyer and her deceased friend was a wizened-looking man by the name of Rothstein. Wisps of white facial hair and small round glasses that framed exhausted-looking eyes, Dr. Rothstein was doing the best he could in the worst of conditions. "I must be honest, I was a little confused when the police informed me that foul play was suspected in their deaths," the doctor confessed, stroking his chin as he spoke. "When I inspected the woman's remains, my first thought was some kind of animal attack. They were in such a terrible state that they had to be identified by their dental records. But surely a strong enough person, someone consumed by rage maybe, they could make a real mess of someone if they wanted to, right?" I asked, and the doctor paused before he spoke. "Have you ever been to sea, Mr. Walters?" Slowly his gaze met mine. I shook my head. "I have. I was the chief medical officer of a trade ship anchored off the coast of French Guiana. Men were swimming in the water when one of them screamed. The crew said that he was dragged under by something. They managed to fight the thing off, but The poor man was left with the most horrific wounds on his torso, like they were inflicted by the suckered tentacles of a giant squid. Where are you going with this, doctor? The police wouldn't listen, but I saw the exact same wounds on those women's bodies. Night had fallen by the time I made it back to my small, dingy apartment on Deacon Hill. The neighborhood's natural elevation meant that it had gotten off lightly when the great wave struck, but it was afflicted by that the same. Did those... Oh yeah, there they are. There's the gifted things finally coming in. Yes, we got Ryan Smith. Shay, welcome Shay. And Level Bold. I feel like there's one more that's got to go in there unless I missed it. Let me know if I missed it, but yeah, maybe people just need to turn it on. That's interesting though. But thank you again for those gifters. And Justin Fallbrook, thank you for the 5. So it's always a nice surprise to see your live read pop up on my feed. The wife and I enjoy your narrations. Keep up the awesome work. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate you. And Francis C., welcome to the Buttersock Call. Thank you again, Terry King, for that. And yeah, perfect timing for anybody who would like to hear these stories, this bonus content in edited format, which will go up both on here on YouTube, but also over on Patreon on the $5 tier. And Buttercup with the 5 says, there's a good chance I'm addicted to your stories, but here's $40.99 to feel the source of my addiction. Yes, keep me going. I am like your drug dealer, except my voice doesn't kill you. It shouldn't, hopefully. That might be a side effect over time. Maybe you're already dead and you have no idea. Just kidding. But thank you so much. And thank you for being addicted to me. See, heroin's not that nice. It doesn't thank you for your time, unfortunately. Most of the time it just ruins your life. Have I decided my favorite kind of chip yet? Well, I was saying, like, since I'm from Pennsylvania, there's this type of chip called Middlesworth potato chips. And they have ones that are like kettle-cooked barbecue ones. Those are good as fuck. If you ever have a chance or see them, if you're passing through Pennsylvania and you stumble across a bit of a gas station or grocery store, be sure to keep an eye out for Middlesworth. And who knows, maybe they even sell Middlesworth in other locations. I would be unaware. I always say your full name. You can call me Terry. You know, I don't know. Terry King sounds cool though. It sounds like a professional name. You know what I mean? Like a movie star name or a important author. You know, you wouldn't just call him Terry. It's fucking Terry King, baby. The neighborhood's natural elevation meant that it had gotten off lightly when the great wave struck, but it was afflicted by that same familiar stench, along with the air of damp that now pervaded. The flames of old-fashioned gas lanterns flickered in the darkness, throwing shadows over the skeletal tree limbs that had grown twisted since the great wave. This was not the place that I had come to know before that tragic New Year's Eve. It was like a broken copy of the place, a madman's warped vision of the city had I grown up in. Had I... what? It was like a broken copy of the place, a madman's warped vision of the city had I... oh, okay, maybe it's that I had grown up in. Microchips, yeah. Yeah, my favorite chips are the one that I implanted into your skin last night. Her Highness, Terry King. You like the sound of that? It was like a broken copy of the place, a madman's warped vision of the city that I had grown up in. Reaching my apartment building, I climbed the steep flights of carpeted stairs, my feet aching from the day's walking. Yet as I reached the front door, I noticed a small envelope attached to it. In it was a small handwritten note. Darkwater Docks, midnight. I know what happened to Mary O'Dwyer. Darkwater Docks is only a short walk from my place in Deacon Hill. I was exhausted, worn out from the day's travel and tense questionings, but I had to know the truth. I gulped down a cup of coffee, grabbed a fresh pack of cigarettes from my writing desk, and then headed back out into the night. About halfway into the journey, the faintest of noises broke the silence of the night. I slowed my footsteps, straining my ears to locate the source. But after taking a few steps, I was surprised to find that it seemed to be emanating from beneath my feet. I looked down to see a manhole cover, blocking the entrance to one of Darkwater's vast sanitation networks. Kneeling down, trying to get an idea of just what was making that sound, a feeling of distinct unease came over me. The sound was a familiar one, or at least I knew what it reminded me of. It was the unmistakable skittering of sewer rats. Only the depth and pitch of it was all wrong. If I was correct, then these vermin must have been huge, 4 or 5 times the size of a regular rodent. I jumped back when the heavy steel of the manhole cover grated against... Fuck. God. You drink any warm drinks before, during live stream? I drink tea before, like during the kind of pre-stream chat. But I definitely could use a few more teas as it goes on. You love popping perks and listening to my stories. Well, be careful with those perks, my friend. If they're doing it recreationally, I would suggest against it, because it can lead you down a dark path. Only, the depth and pitch of it was all wrong. If I was correct, then these vermin must have been huge, 4 or 5 times the size of a regular rodent. I jumped back when the heavy steel of the manhole cover grated against the damp concrete around it. It had moved. The grinding sounded again, the manhole cover shifting ominously, moved by some unseen force. Primal fear stabbed through my guts like a sharpened blade, and I began to flee the scene as the manhole cover rattled behind me. If whatever was down there really did want to break through to the surface, then I did not want to be around when it did. When I finally reached the docks, I found them utterly deserted. Nothing stirred in the dead of night. The only sound was the gentle lapping of water against the edge of the dock. I wandered around for a while, wondering if the risk of I wandered around for a while, wondering if the risk of Hey, Galaxia XP with the 20 buckarino says, you are all a big part of my life. Just wanted you to know it is more than greatly appreciated. Thank you. Well, thank you, Galaxia. You guys are a huge part of my life, actually. I mean, obviously, but like in a way that you would never understand. Well, I guess you would understand, since we're all living here in this chat room. Man, my nose is dried out. For some reason. You wouldn't think it was, but I just feel like talking so fucking much just absorbs all my moisture. I wandered around, but thank you again, Galaxia. Thank you so much. I wandered around for a while, wondering if the risk of headed out... wondering if the risk of headed out into the new Darkwater night... Oh, heading. Yeah, my bad. So... I wandered around for a while, wondering if the risk of heading out into the new Darkwater night was going to be worth it. Then suddenly, out of the inky black shadows of a warehouse building, he appeared, wearing a dark green raincoat, a black fisherman's hat casting a shadow over his face. He took a few steps, slow steps. Wearing a dark green raincoat, a black fisherman's hat casting a shadow over his face, he took a few slow steps towards me. You left me a message? Is all I could think to say. I did, the fisherman said. His voice, I'll see. God. Bastard. I did. Oh shit, I gotta sound like this. Crystal P with a 2. You left me a message? It was all I could think to say. I did, the fisherman said. His voice was like gravel, a distinct New England twang to it. And you came. So let's talk. Who are you? It was more of a demand than a question. It's not important, he replied. What's important is that your readers know what happened to Mary O'Dwyer. Then what happened to her? Mary O'Dwyer was a poor, unfortunate soul who came across something she couldn't possibly understand. The fisherman began. You know what I'm talking about. That book she found. Only it's not a book in the truest sense. You don't read this book. It reads you. Do you know what happened to Mrs. O'Dwyer's friend? The one that killed him. And do you know what happened to Miss O'Dwyer's friend? The one killed a few nights before? Aye. She knew what Mary found. She knew it was a bad thing. She tried to make the woman see sense. But someone who happens across that kind of power never gives up easily. What do you mean, power? I asked. Just what is that book? Just what is that book? It's something old. As old as the ocean itself, the fisherman explained. Created by eldritch beings from the skins of a long-dead race. Its use requires skills which Mary didn't possess. But her neighbor said she was talking with her departed husband. Are you saying she used that book to commune with the dead? It is true that Mrs. O'Dwyer believed that she was talking to her dead husband, but that is unfortunately not the case. She was communicating with merely what assumed the shape of a loved one to hide its true form. They manipulated her, toyed with her, then ended her life on a whim. I was dumbstruck. What's more, the fisherman added, I fear the book that Mary found had fallen into some very dangerous hands. There are those that would give just about anything to have the possession. Fucking Christ. I feel like I'm kind of fucking up this dialogue shit, because I feel like they said like New England accent, but I'm kind of doing like, I don't know. I feel like I should be doing like a really deep, like, I feel like they almost like want like a deep fisherman's accent, like, you know what I mean? Like the guy who's like, oh, I'm like a pirate or some shit almost or something. But like, I can't really do it too deep and do the Boston bullshit. I don't fucking know. So Joel reads scary stories now? Did you ever hear that, Jay? The old scary story, Joel? Just do your normal voice. Well, I don't know, man. I can't go back now. I've come too far. And what's more, the fisherman added, I fear the book that Mary found has fallen into very dangerous hands. God damn it. I fear the book that Mary found had fallen into very dangerous hands. There are those that would give just about anything to have it their possession. Oh, it is a fuck up, okay. There are those that would give just about anything to have it in their possession. Those who made Darkwater a center of their affairs in the aftermath of the Great Wave. This city's different now. You know that, don't you, Mr. Walters? You feel it. I feel it. Everyone feels it. The Great Wave came and went, but it left pieces of itself all over. Pieces that people will struggle to comprehend. You got a duty now, Mr. Walters, to inform your readers, to warn them of the dangers that now exist in this once titanic city. And what about you? I finally asked. What's your part in all this? To guide this ship to calmer waters, he said, the moonlight catching a thin smile. To keep watch as this city enters a terrible new chapter in its history. Stay safe, Mr. Walters. With that, he slipped back into the shadows, cloaked by the veil of night. The man arrested on suspicion of Mrs. O'Dwyer's murder, Seamus Toner. Seamus? Old Seaman. Seaman the Clown. I don't know. I'm just not satisfied with because I feel like I could have done that guy's voice better as far as a character goes, but I just felt so weird trying to do gravelly mixed with fucking whatever the Massachusetts accent that they wanted. Maybe I should have looked it up. You turned down going to the bar to listen to the stream. Let's go. Yeah, fuck the bar. It's not worth it. Unless you can put this stream over the bar. Seaman the Clown. John Gary Drums, welcome to the Buttersock Call. You now have access to bonus content. It's pronounced Seamus. Come on. It's gotta be Seamus. Siemens. Seamus. The man arrested on suspicion of Mrs. O'Dwyer's murder. God damn it. It's so annoying. I'm literally can't even make it through. I just want to spray this shit in my mouth. It's fucking good as fuck. Seamus content. The man arrested on suspicion of Mrs. O'Dwyer's murder, Seamus Toner, has been released without charge. Due to lack of evidence, Darkwater Police Department was unable to form a case against him, and he has since returned to his home in Jamestown. Mr. Toner declined to give an interview with the Chronicle, but I believe we gathered enough information to form a loose picture of what happened to the woman now known to some as the Jamestown Witch. The fisherman was right. Dark water has changed in ways we can't even imagine. The horrors Mrs. O'Dwyer experienced will not be the last time one of us The horrors Mrs. O'Dwyer experienced will not be the last time one of us encounters the malevolence left behind in the aftermath of the tragedy that befell this city. But we survived the Great Wave, and we will survive what comes after. What's more, the Darkwater Chronicle will continue to report on all of the new and terrifying dangers that now lurk in the dark corners of our once mighty metropolis. But until next time, readers, beware the unfamiliar, and protect those dearest to you, and keep your eyes on the tides. Let me clear my throat. I choked on spit. Do a Peter Griffin. Hey, Lois. Oh, fuck, man. I'm burnt out. But, excitingly, we got... Oh, this one's longer. This one was 7. This one is 11. So this is part 2 of these. Oh, heavens. I don't know why I've never watched one of these live streams before. I've been listening for years now. I see what I've been missing. Yeah. You finally get the full Let's Readian experience. Alright. Ow, Peter. Oh, Peter. Oh, fuck, Lois. Fuck. Alright. On a cold, concrete penis. On the cold, concrete steps of dark water. Fuck. Sorry, I had to let that out. On the cold, concrete steps of Darkwater City Hall, a black-clad woman wails in despair. Her husband is one of 3 sanitation workers that have disappeared recently whilst on duty in the vast underground sewage tunnels that run beneath our feet. Robert Marcosi, an Italian migrant from the Bay of Naples, is inconsolable. Roberta Marcosi, an Italian migrant from the Bay of Naples, is inconsolable. Grief-stricken in-laws try their best to quiet her sobs, but they too remain in a melancholy vigil for her missing husband. The Darkwater Sanitation Department has been slow to release updates regarding the subsequent rescue attempts. The families of the missing workers don't even know if their loved ones are dead or alive. 3 hard-working members of the city's service department climbed down into the tunnels one day, vanishing without a trace. Yet no serious effort seems to have mounted to find them. I was in outrage. Okay. It was an outrage, a scandal, and also the reason why I ended up sitting in my editor's office one drizzly Monday morning. The offices of the Darkwater Chronicle are located on the 13th floor of the Exchange Building, right in the heart of downtown Darkwater. Its elevator, once a technological marvel, was the pride of Darkwater citizenry, and it hasn't functioned since the Great Wave. The exertion of climbing all 13 flights of stairs has me panting like a hound in summer heat by the time I walk through the door. "Walters!" A gravelly smoker's voice barked from the editor's office. "Get in here, right now!" Mr. Nestor Ramos, editor-in-chief of the Darkwater Chronicle, is of Spanish and Irish extraction, the Latin passion in his blood only bolstering the dourness. The dourness? Dourness. Okay. The Latin passion in his blood only bolstering the dourness in his Gaelic demeanor. This morning, however, he was in a sorry state. 2 empty coffee cups already sat on his desk, a third being fortified with a bottle of Irish whiskey he kept in a locked desk drawer. "You called for me, Mr. Ramos, sir?" I asked after closing the office door behind me. "I did. Now take a seat, son. I got a job for you." Mr. Ramos took a gulp of his fortified coffee, large black circles surrounding his eyes. "You heard about these missing sewer workers, I assume?" I have. A terrible burden on their families." "Tragic, isn't it?" he replied, the wariness evident in his voice. "And I want you to get to the bottom of it. It's a scandal, I can tell you. A goddamn outrage. And if you can get the scoop on this one, it'll be double, even triple our circulation." "I understand, sir," I said, eyeing the empty coffee cups. "You seem a little tired today, Mr. Ramos. Is everything okay at home?" Yeah, everything's just fine. Barely slept a wink last night, though. Strange dreams. Of a deeply vexing variety," he replied, his eyes betraying a troubled mind. Care to elaborate?" Mr. Ramos exhaled a deep sigh before he spoke, leaning back in his chair and taking another large swig of his coffee. It was dark. Everything around me was pitch black, and I felt myself descending deeper and deeper into some sort of pit. His gaze slipped from mine, losing focus as he recalled his nocturnal visitation. I saw a man down there, crawling on his hands and knees among the dirt and the slime, like he was looking for something. He had his back to me at first, but as I approached, he turned to look at me. It was then that I saw that he had no head. It was then that I saw that he had no head. I finished Mr. Ramos' sentence, watching as his eyes turned wide with horrified surprise. Yes, he had no head. He was looking for his own severed head, but how could you possibly know that, Walters? Because, sir, I explained, watching him reach for his fortified coffee once more. I had the exact same dream. It was no empty platitude. The mysterious headless man had in fact visited my own dreams just a few nights previous. It was a mystery, all right. A mystery I was only too happy to get to the bottom of. A few miles south of downtown, the city's sanitation department is housed inside a large, bland-looking building. God, my nose is dry. A few miles south of downtown, the city's sanitation department is housed inside a large, bland-looking building just near a runoff of the Sharon River. After arranging a meeting with one of the supervisors over there, I hitched a ride in one of the many horse-drawn buggies that have appeared around town. Repair of Darkwater's famous streetcar lines have been slow, so many entrepreneurial citizens have taken it upon themselves to provide a much-needed transportation service to their friends and neighbors. My driver was an Irishman who told me that he brought his family to the United States after his service in the First World War. He was a cheerful fellow who spoke fondly of his comrades, relaying the tale of a great battle he'd had the honor of having fought in. How the savage Hun had used poisonous gas on the beleaguered? Never heard the word beleaguered before. Beleaguered. To surround as a fortified place with armed forces for the purpose of capturing or preventing commerce and communication. Oh, to surround. Okay. How the savage Hun had used poison gas on the beleaguered British soldiers, only to have them stand their ground, gas masks donned and bayonets fixed, to repel a ferocious German assault. When we arrived at the industrial park at the gates of When we arrived at the industrial park at the gates of South Darkwater, I thanked the driver, tipping him generously for his safe driving and his enthralling tales of his military service. Yet it was with a heavy heart that I watched him depart, for it was only when I had dismounted the buggy that I saw the man was a double amputee, 2 cloth-covered stumps where his legs should have been. He bid me farewell with a warm smile and a friendly wave. I tried to match the cheerfulness of his smile, but I fear I may have fallen short. Wait, he was a driver, right? How did he get a look at like how his legs reached the pedals and stuff? I feel like that's kind of like an important detail, like once you notice that, to like say if he had like, you know, peg legs or something, or like some sort of contraption. Zola said hi. She loves you. Oh, hello, Zola. Lila, what are you up to? He bid me farewell with a warm smile and a friendly wave. I tried to match the cheerfulness of his smile, but I fear I may have fallen well short. The supervisor I spoke to at the sanitation department was a man by the name of Harland Greaves, a portly fellow who seemed only too happy to talk to me, even if the subject matter did make him a little anxious. 3 experienced sanitation workers vanished into thin air. I've never known anything like it, he explained, taking off his cap and scratching at the few tufts of hair left on his scalp. We're trying to organize search parties, but the remaining workers are too afraid to go look for him. They say there are things down there now. What kind of things? I asked him skeptically. Terrible things. One guy said he'd been having bad dreams about the sewers. Terrible things. One guy said he's been having dreams about the sewers. How they're a warning. The crazy talk, like. The supervisor looked around him, making sure his colleagues were at a safe distance as his voice dropped to a whisper. Like, there's giant rats down there. Rats that walk on their hind legs, like a man. And you don't think there's any credibility to these claims, do you? Look, before the Great Wave, if you'd have told me about monsters in this goddamn sewers, I'd have told you to go jump in a fucking lake. But you know... Oh, fuck. Look, before the Great Wave, if you'd have told me about monsters in the goddamn sewers, I'd have told you to go jump in a fucking lake. But now... The man sighed, shaking his head in disbelief. Now I'm not so sure. Last time I was down there, I heard stuff. What did you hear, Mr. Greaves? Oh, you don't want to know, buddy. I can promise you that. The portly supervisor gave me a look that set me on edge. Besides, there's something you should know about the missing guys. It wasn't just 3 of them. Others went missing down there? I asked with genuine surprise. Just one. And only for one night, and that's why we didn't report it, Mr. Greaves exclaimed. We thought he was a goner, but the very next night he comes running out of the tunnel screaming about rat men living down there. Like they was birthed by the Great Wave or something. Like I said, crazy talk. And where's this man now? I asked. I must talk with him. Can you put me in touch? Oh, I don't think he's going to be talking to anyone for a while, Mr. Reporter. Greaves let out a morbid chuckle at the thought. I do know where you can find him, though. And where might that be, Mr. Greaves? I inquired, receiving Greaves' answer with a grim lack of surprise. Darkwater Insane Asylum. I gotta do that better. This kind of fucking sucks. I don't know. I'm like fucking bad at like creating these characters on the fly, but especially, I mean, like I can kind of get it, but if I'm not confident in the accent, I just feel like it just feels weird, you know? Darkwater Insane Asylum. Officially opened in 1878, the colossal Gothic building that would become Darkwater Insane Asylum is truly awesome to behold. Built at a cost of more than $1.5 million, it more closely resembles some exclusive private preparatory school than a place where some of Massachusetts' most dangerously deranged patients are housed. It was a truly harrowing experience to walk the halls of the asylum. The accompanying nurse handed me a small visitor's pass, instructing me to pin it to my coat and to not remove it under any circumstances. I jokingly asked her if I would be detained as a patient if I happened to lose it, and the look she gave me was unsettling, to say the least. I followed the stony-faced nurse to the room of one Joseph Flaherty. What? Flaherty? Flaherty. Flaherty. Yeah, it's like Arkham Asylum. I followed the stony-faced nurse to the room of one Joseph Flaherty, waiting patiently as she used an overladen ring of keys to unlock a series of heavy bolts before slowly pushing open the door. "Mr. Flaherty?" Her tone became theatrically soft and pleasant. "There's somebody here to see you. Isn't that nice? He's a man from the newspaper, a reporter from the Chronicle. He'd like to ask you a few questions if that's all right with you." Mr. Flaherty was catatonic, staring blankly out of a barred window as he sat motionless in a large easy chair. "He was hysterical when they first brought him in," the nurse whispered. "But he's been like this ever since. Doesn't talk to anyone, barely eats his food, just stares out of that window all damn day. Poor man." "Is it possible to have a few minutes alone with him?" I asked hopefully. "Of course. He's a low-risk patient, so I can give you a minute or two, but I'm afraid I'll have to wait outside. Just knock on the door if anything happens, okay?" "Okay. Thank you, ma'am." As the door closed, I walked slowly around the chair Mr. Flaherty was sat in, edging closer to the wall and, hopefully, into his field of vision. "Mr. Flaherty, sir, I'm so sorry that this all happened to you," I said, adopting a similar saccharine tone to the nurse's. Saccharine? That's the word, right? Saccharine. Saccharin. Fuck. I said, adopting a similar saccharine tone to the nurse's. "But I wonder if you could... Fuck. But I wonder if I could ask you a few questions regarding your, temporary disappearance whilst at work." Mr. Flaherty? How the fuck do you say that stupid... Flaherty, yeah. Mr. Flaherty was a statue. He didn't even blink. Mr. Flaherty was a statue. He didn't even blink. "Can you perhaps be so kind as to give us any information, any kind of clue as to why your colleagues had disappeared?" Again, nothing. "What happened in the sewers, Mr. Flaherty?" I asked frankly, becoming increasingly frustrated. "There are grieving families, children who are crying for the missing fathers." It was no use. Mr. Flaherty sat completely still, his gaze ever wavering from the window pane. "Did you have the dreams?" Okay, I'll go with that voice. I don't know. It was no use. Mr. Flaherty sat completely still, his gaze ever wavering from the window pane. "Did you have the dreams?" I almost jumped out of my skin when his head spun toward me, his lip trembling. The headless man?" he rasped. I saw him in my dreams." "I know, Mr. Flaherty. I've seen him too. Something terrible is happening down in the sewers. You know that. Now please, Joseph, help us find those men. Just what is down there?" Mr. Flaherty's eyes wandered, like he was seeing something in the room alongside me. "Rats." His voice like scratch paper. "Rats that skitter and squeak like human tongues. Rats that shamble on their hind legs with huge clawed fingers. I saw them, sir. I saw them. And their eyes. Oh God, their eyes. They see everything." I tried to press Mr. Flaherty for more information, but he grew hysterical, flailing his arms wildly, screaming about the army of giant rat men that skittered in the sewers below, biding their time, poised to strike. I hammered on the door, shouting for the waiting nurse, praying she was still stood outside. And much to my infinite relief, she was, a team of nurses following her to subdue the frantic patient. The frenetic? Asherella, what's going on? Frenetic, maybe. Much to my infinite relief, she was, a team of nurses following her to subdue the frenetic patient. She shot me a vicious look before she went to work, obviously blaming me for agitating the poor, suffering madman. I left as quickly as I could, a deep sense of shame in my gut. But as I took the train back into Darkwater, I was left with the remainder of the night. What is it? But as I took the train back into Darkwater, I was left with a reminder. Okay, reminder. But as I took the train back into Darkwater, I was left with a reminder of the night. But as I took the train back into Darkwater, I was left with a reminder of the night that I had traveled to the Docklands to meet with the mysterious fisherman. The thought of the manhole cover, of the hideous skittering I heard beneath, and how the thick metal slab was shifting slightly by some unseen force beneath. Could it be true? Could the maze of sewer tunnels beneath our feet be inhabited by vicious bipedal vermin? There was only one way to discover the truth. I headed back to the sanitation department, determined to gain entry into the one place that could provide definitive answers as to what happened to the missing workers. The sewers. "You gotta be crazy," Mr. Reeves spat out, outraged that I'd even suggested such an idea. You think I'm gonna take you, a goddamn reporter, into the tunnels with me to look for these missing workers? We're trying to put together a 10-man search party. We can't even pull together 5 men willing to go down there, and here you are suggesting just the 2 of us venture down there. Absolutely not. Well, then if you won't accompany me, I'll go alone. Just give me a copy of the blueprints, and I'll find my way around, no problem. Alone? Jesus, are you really that crazy? You got a death wish or something? You want to be the next person to disappear down there? Someone has to find these men, Mr. Greaves. I was indignant. The police are too busy trying to keep this city from falling apart, and your department is so afraid of a few rumors that it's almost paralyzed. Are you willing to look those men's wives in the eyes and tell them that you're too scared to find their husbands? Because I can't do that. I won't. Okay. I'll go with you. Just give me a few hours. Meet me in the North End at 7 p.m. sharp. I gotta borrow something from an Italian friend of mine. Oh, I'll be there, Mr. Greaves. Will you? Yeah. My word is my bond. And you'll see. Mr. Greaves was indeed a man of his word. As the sun sank below the horizon and thick fog rolled in from the banks of the Sharon River, I waited at our proposed meeting spot, a sewer entrance just around the corner from an Italian sandwich shop I like to frequent on my lunch breaks. The place was boarded up now, gutted by the Great Wave, another casualty in a city with 10,000 stories of heartbreak and loss. Right on time, Mr. Greaves appeared from an arterial alleyway wearing his work uniform, a powerful electric torch and manhole opener in his grip. He had something else on him too, something he held tightly in a scrunched-up paper bag. "Good evening, Mr. Walters," he said grimly, clearly not too happy about being there. Lovely night for fuck. I'm really confused. Aren't they the fucking newspaper people? Like, why the fuck would Mr. Greaves, like the boss of the newspaper thing, like I would understand if, you know, Mr. Walters, you know, the main character, would be going down by himself and Mr. Greaves would be against it, and then he goes like without Mr. Greaves' permission. But the fact that Mr. Greaves is even like going with him, that just seems weird to me for some reason, or just like a different type of trope. Jeanette Dillingham with the 5. Thank you, Jeanette. Appreciate you.
Mischievous dog.
And Asherella, welcome back for 28 months in the Buttersock Cult. Says, I filmed 40 minutes of the video this evening. Didn't realize until I started editing my OBS wasn't set to pick up my desktop mic. A little frustrated right now. Oh, I'm sorry. I've definitely been there. I remember recording and then going through the motions the next day to edit, but I like went through the motions of like clearing my memory stick, and it fucking deleted everything, and I was so fucking mad. Had to start everything. It was so good you started sweating? Fuck yeah, let's go. I'm sweating. Lovely night for it. Fuck, why do I keep saying knife? Lovely night for it, Mr. Greaves. Lovely night for it, Mr. Greaves, I replied with a smile, tipping my hat to the man. Let's just get this over with, shall we? Mr. Greaves took the long metal manhole opener, fastening it into one of the small holes in the huge steel disc. He strained, grunting as he pulled the heavy steel away from a small dark opening in the ground. Here, take this. He held the steel rod out to me in the twilight. God knows you might need it. But what will you have to defend yourself, Mr. Greaves? Like I said, I had to go visit my Italian friend. Oh, I see. Like I said, I had to go visit my Italian friend, he said with a wink, pulling out a Colt 45 from the brown paper bag. Brought it back from France, so he did. Says he even shot a kraut with it. I tried to push any fears of imminent danger to the back of my mind as I followed Mr. Greaves down a rickety, rusted ladder. Each step down made the weakened metal groan and shake. I waited for the moment the thing would snap, sending us both plummeting into the filth below. But it held. Thank God it held. The sewers themselves didn't smell nearly as bad as I imagined, more like shale beach at low tide, salt air with a hint of rot. 2 stone embankments sandwiched a murky subterranean river, illuminated by the bright light of Mr. Greaves' electric flashlight. As we scanned our surroundings, the portly sewer worker tapping his watch... Wait, what? As we scanned our surroundings, the portly sewer worker tapping his watch as he gave me a cautionary glance... Oh, there was... Oh, the sewer worker... Oh, gave them... Wait. Do you guys know who this person is? Because the way that... Wait. I'm confused as fuck. Because wasn't Mr. Greaves the one that, like, brought something to open the manhole to get into it or something? And then... Well, first off, this sentence is confusing as shit. As we scanned our surroundings, the portly sewer worker... Who is that? Who is the portly sewer worker, and why is he there all of a sudden? As we scanned our surroundings, the portly sewer worker tapping his watch as he gave me a cautionary glance. 30 minutes down here, Mr. Walters, no longer. Wait, Greaves is the sewer boss? Oh, I'm a complete fucking idiot, dude. Oh, it doesn't really matter, but I totally was under the interpretation that this was... Oh, I'm so bad at this. Holy shit. I literally thought that that was his fucking... I thought that was his boss. I don't even remember what Greaves sounds like. Anybody remember what Greaves sounds like? It all sounds the fucking same. Motherfucker. How did I let that slip in my mind? No one even told me. Greaves is the sewerage boss. I thought it was his fucking... I thought it was his, like, boss from, What made me think it was his boss from work? From like the... Maybe I'm just bad at fucking reading comprehension. You're the mysterious sewer worker. You're good. He sounds like you reset move forward. That's so far back though. It's actually too far back. Fuck it. I'm not going back. Whatever. Guess we'll just stick with the grumpy voice. I don't fucking know. I was trying to tell you. You didn't tell me fast enough. You let me die. You let me continue to, stick my fingers where they don't belong. As we scanned our surroundings, the portly sewer worker tapping his watch as he gave me a cautionary glance. 30 minutes down here, Mr. Walters. No longer. I just nodded, motioning for him to lead the way. I wasn't entirely sure what we were looking for. Clues to the disappearances, of course, but just what form they would present themselves was entirely beyond my imagining. It took mere minutes before we had our first encounter. Mr. Greaves had led me through hundreds of meters of tunnels, every step bringing us closer to the sector in which the disappeared had vanished. Suddenly, Mr. Greaves stopped dead in his tracks, bringing a single finger to his ear before gesturing for me to listen. I heard nothing, silently shooting him a quizzical look. Yet just as I'm about to whisper my confusion, I heard it too. The same terrible skittering I had heard the night I met the fisherman began to echo through the tunnels. It was accompanied by an even more disturbing sound, a chattering that reminded me of old voodoo bone charms brought to shore by Haitian immigrants. It was the chattering of teeth. Mr. Greaves brought his flashlight beam to a small runoff that seemed to be the source of the hideous sound, the polished .45 shaking in his grip as he aimed it. Jesus Christ, it's true. Flattery wasn't mad there. They really are. His words became a gasp of sheer hysterical terror as he clawed. It's kind of funny that this story and then randomly the one on the chilling app both had fucking rat people in it who come from underground. Like that's like such a random coincidence. Yeah, never take a step backwards in battle. Exactly. Jesus Christ, it's true. Flaherty. I can't remember how the fuck this motherfucker's name is. Flaherty, Robert Flaherty. Flaherty, okay, cool. Jesus Christ, it's true. Flaherty wasn't mad. There really are. His voice became a gasp of sheer hysterical terror as a clawed hand came into view, matted brown fur sprouting from long, bony fingers. From below the filthy water's surface, two jagged, bestial ears emerged, followed by a pair of blood-red eyes and yellowing teeth that chattered together hideously. The rat men that Mr. Flaherty spoke of, they were real. The deafening sound of a gunshot echoed through the tunnel, my ears ringing. The blinding muzzle flash burned into my retina for a moment. The rat man seemed to not flinch as more and more bullets were fired in its direction, unleashing. The rat man seemed to not flinch as more and more bullets were fired in its direction, unleashing a gut-wrenching screech as it pulled itself onto the embankment and scuttled towards us. "Run, Walters! Run for your life!" We hurtled towards the locked sewer gate, Mr. Greaves fumbling through a ginormous keychain trying desperately to find the correct key for the lock. I turned, numb with fear as I saw the rat man's glowing crimson eyes shining out in the darkness. They were up high, on the grimy stone ceiling. It was crawling along the ceiling. Its claws dug into the old stone for grip, teeth chattering as it hunted us. After the metal sewer gate swung open and the frantic Mr. Greaves pulled me to safety, We both turned to get one more look at the hideous, skittering rat thing, but it was gone. Not a single sign of the creature remained. Even the water from which it emerged was calm and undisturbed. "Where the hell did that thing go?" I asked, peering between the steel bars into the shadows on the other side. "I have no idea, but I'm damn sure to know I have no idea, but damn sure know where we're going back to the goddamn street. I have no idea, but I'm damn sure know where we're going back to the goddamn street level." As we made our attempt to escape, Mr. Greaves led us to maintenance room. He said it would contain a log of all the workers who have made their rounds in this section of the tunnels. According to him, it could provide us all the clues we needed to the missing men's whereabouts. Yet when he placed his hand on the grimy steel door handle, he found it to be locked. "This door shouldn't be locked," he said, an air of confusion to his voice. "What in the world?" That sounds so weird. "What in the world?" Harlan Greaves produced his key ring again, unlocking the maintenance room before slowly swinging the door open. The stench hit us immediately, the stink of rotten flesh making our eyes water as we peered into the dark, dingy interior of the maintenance room. There sat a lifeless body, curled up in the fetal position, rotting on the cold stone floor. "My God!" Greaves hissed as he shone his flashlight over the cadaver. "It's Howard Phillips, one of the missing workers. He'd locked himself in the maintenance room this whole goddamn time." The missing worker's body was untouched, no blood stained. The missing worker's body was untouched. No blood stained his clothes or pooled on the floor. The only clues to his untimely death were the signs of dehydration, blotchy skin, and swollen tongue. The man hadn't been murdered. He's just lost his mind and died of pure thirst. "We spent enough time down here, Mr. Walter. Fucking Christ. We've spent enough time down here, Mr. Walters. Time to leave. We spent enough time down here, Mr. Walters. It's time to leave." The portly sewer worker whispered. Whispered. I wish it would tell you beforehand if they're going to whisper. "We spent enough time down here, Mr. Walters. Time to leave." The portly sewer worker whispered, the fear evident in his voice. Quite right. Quite right, Mr. Greaves. Lead the way." Yet as we spied another ladder leading to the surface, and our escape seemed imminent, Mr. Greaves stopped once again, his ears pricking up to another barely audible sound. "What is it?" I hissed in his direction, desperate at this point to return to the surface. "Teresa!" he called out, his eyes probing dark corners. "Teresa, is that you?" I heard it now too, the faint cries of a small child. "Save me, Papa!" the unknown voice pleaded. "Please, help me!" "Teresa, my sweet girl, I'm here. Daddy's here!" Greaves called out, his words desperate, hopeful. We watched as a tiny, barefoot child stepped out of the shadows on the other side of the sewer water. She mustn't have been any older than 6 or 7, her skin deathly pale in the light of Greaves' flashlight. I was too stunned to say anything at first, too dumbstruck to warn Mr. Greaves that the thing that stood before us may well not be his daughter at all. "Hang on, sweetie. I'm coming. Daddy's coming," he said, edging towards the water's edge as he prepared to cross. I grabbed his sleeve, shaking my head violently as I held him back. The look he gave me was one of fury, one you might expect when you deny a man the chance to reunite with his long-lost child. But when he looked back to her, he saw why I held him by the arm so tightly. "I'm so cold down here, Papa," she whined, her skin shriveling, turning gray and purple with rot as she took a few steps closer. "I miss you and Mommy so much. Why haven't you been looking for me?" "Oh, sweet Mary, Mother of God," he groaned, backing up as his breath caught in his throat. "Come on, man. We got to get out of here," I bellowed, tugging at his arm as I averted by the... "Come on, man. We got to get out of here," I bellowed, tugging at his arm as I averted my gaze from the horror that stood before us. "Move, damn it! Move!" We ran, as fast as our legs could carry us, dashing down the sewer towards the rickety surface ladder that was our only evident means of escape. The thing that assumed the form of Greaves' deceased daughter leapt across the water with a sickening howl before giving chase. Greaves was the first on the ladder, panting and gasping as he pulled himself upward. I had lost sight of the child-shaped thing, but I could still hear its ragged, bubbling wheeze in the darkness, getting closer and closer with each passing second. "Take my hand!" Wait, who is this? "Take my hand," a familiar voice called as we suddenly bathed in it. Okay. "Take my hand!" A familiar voice called out as we were suddenly bathed in the orange glow of surface streetlights. Someone had pulled the manhole away, saving us valuable time and potentially saving our lives. The stranger pulled Mr. Greaves out of the manhole first, displaying an inordinate amount of strength and heaving the rather rotund gentleman out from the depths. As soon as I looked up, I recognized the face of the man who had somehow known exactly where and when to be to save us from a grisly, unknowable fate. He wore the same oily-looking raincoat, his hands rough and calloused from years of pulling ropes on beleaguered. He wore the same oily-looking raincoat, his hands rough and calloused from the years of pulling ropes on beleaguered sailing boats in the expanse of the North Atlantic. It was the fisherman. "Thank you, sir. Truly," Mr. Greaves panted, bent double with his hands on his knees, trying desperately to regain his breath. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't been there." "Oh, I do," said the fisherman. "I know only too well. Now follow me. I'll explain everything I can." Mr. Greaves, the fisherman and I... Mr. Greaves, the fisherman and I... What the fuck is this sentence? Mr. Greaves, the fisherman... Oh, it just sounds so weird. Mr. Greaves, the fisherman and I found ourselves a late-night diner in the North End. I opted for hot coffee and a pastry, whereas the shaken Mr. Greaves ordered a small glass of grappa. Grappa? What the fuck is grappa? What's everybody doing? It's wine chateau. How do you say it? Grappa. Grappa. A big bowl of crappa. I opted for hot coffee and pastry, whereas the shaken Mr. Greaves ordered a small glass of grappa and a beer to wash it down with. I imagine the pair of you are... How the hell did they talk again? From Boston. Oh my god, bro. You wouldn't even believe the amount of shit. I imagine the pair of... I don't even know this guy. I imagine the pair of you were awful... I imagine the pair of you were awful confused by what you saw down there. the fisherman said, his cloudy blue eyes ringed by burst blood vessels, the sign of one too many whiskeys over years. "You could say that again," I remarked, "but I believe Mr. Greaves may have a few more questions than I." "My wife and I, Mr. Greaves paused and threw back the glass of grappa with a grimace before he continued. "We lost our daughter in the great wave. We never found the body, but we were sure that she had passed on. But I saw her down there. I saw my sweet Teresa in those sewers. How can that be?" "That wasn't your daughter, Mr. Greaves," the fisherman said, his voice grinding like a ship against jagged rocks. "That wasn't Teresa. It was simply an apparition. The one thing that would appeal to you most." "We saw other things down there too, sir," I added hastily. "Impossible things. Are you saying they weren't real either?" "The thing that now calls dark sewers..." Motherfucker. I actually kind of regret doing the voices, because I feel like an idiot, because I can't quite remember what any of them sound like. Whatever, fuck this shit. "The thing that now calls dark dark water sewers." I don't know why it's so fucking hard to say. "The thing that now calls dark water sewers its home will take the shape of whatever it feels like will terrify or allure its victims," the fisherman explained. "Sailors who return to the port with stories of sea creatures both beautiful and terrifying, all a trick by the ancient, nameless thing that now resides in the tunnels beneath our feet." "And what are the dreams?" I asked. "Many of us had strange dreams that I believe are connected to the sewers and the poor men who lost their minds down there." "Ah, yes, the dreams," the fisherman smiled, taking another swig of his beer. "That I never quite been able to explain. Once, during a few rough days in the mid-Atlantic, the crew of the ship I was on was plagued with terrible, vivid dreams. We all saw the same thing, a headless sailor trapped on the seabed." "And you believe this was... this thing that now resides in the sewers?" "Could have been. Who can say?" he replied, polishing off the last of his beer. "But I do know the thing has no shape, no true form. It used to live on the seabed, crushed by the weight of the water above. And now it only occupies the sewers. It fills every inch. It is the sewers now. It's become the sewers, just as the sewers have become it." "So the dreams are a warning, or perhaps a lure?" "I'd say both. But whatever the reason, I believe that we leave it alone, it'll leave us alone. The dreams could be some kind of resonance. The dreams could be some kind of resonance, some unintentional echo of its power. A few dreams are but a small price to pay for the continual survival of this great city." "Well, so what?" Mr. Greaves said in outrage. "Would have just abandoned these sewers to that thing? How are we supposed to do our jobs?" "Please understand, Mr. Greaves. It is frightened, confused. It's been pulled up from its 1,000-year home in the deep, thrown in a place it doesn't understand, a place it doesn't belong. Give it time. You'll be able to venture down once again. If you pose no threat to it, it'll pose no threat to you." And with that fisherman got up from his seat and walked out the diner into the night again. The bodies of the missing sewer workers had been recovered and properly buried. I attended the burial of the Italian widow's husband, wishing to pay my own respects to a family that had lost so much, so tragically. But there were no more tears from the grieving relatives. They had no more tears to cry. Mr. Greaves had informed me that the sewer work had returned to its regular schedule. The maintenance workers go indeed now. Pradeep's like turned over on his back and like reaching out to my foot. It's really funny. Mr. Greaves has informed me that sewer work has returned to its regular schedule. The maintenance workers do indeed now go down in teams of 2 or 3, never staying too long, never venturing too deep. They still hear things, awful things, but they know now not to look, not to listen, to ignore that thing that probes at the fragile portions of their minds. But without a doubt, this is not the last time the residents of our fair city will be plagued by some ancient, nameless horror. So until next time, readers, beware the unfamiliar, protect those dearest to you, and keep your eyes on the tides. Pradeepo. We did it, friends. We have completed the chilling content, and we have completed this month's member-only content featuring the Darkwater Chronicles, I guess, or something. The Darkwater Chronicles, yeah. But yeah, guys, thanks for everything. Let's Read kicks ass. Thanks, dude. I do be trying my best. It is about 23 past midnight, but I hope you guys appreciated this little bonus stream for boner content. And I will be back tomorrow, actually, for the next stream, because I'll be recording audio or audio with creepy backstories is essentially what it will be. But this will, I'll let you know on Twitter, so be sure to follow me on Twitter and all the other social medias, at Let's Read Creepy and on Twitter, and at Let's Read.official on Instagram. And yeah, you'll be kept up to date when new shit goes up. This the obviously will be going on the Chilling app, the first story, and then these stories will be going on both the $5 tier on Patreon, and then the bonus content playlist over here on YouTube. Sheesh. Fuck yeah. Fucking Marie M with a big 35 on the outro says, hey, this sounds great. It pulls you in even more. Thank you for the hard work. You're welcome, Marie. Thank you. Yeah, sometimes I get in my own head. I'm like trying to hold myself to like this standard of I don't even know what, but you know how like sometimes you're playing like an instrument and it just like feels like it, you're just vibing with it, but do we still get push-ups? I think this is a push-up-less stream, just to give my body a break. Of course, I was going to do squats, wasn't I? And Wasif Huda with the big 20. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. I guess I could try squats since it's a different thing. Remember we were talking about trying a different workout. Holy shit. What was I saying? How many was I going to do? 56? I feel like actually 56 kind of like doable. I'm in my mind. Because I got some leggies on me. Do you like fishes, like fish tanks? Yeah, they're fun, They're cool to look at, I guess. I pronounced your name right? Wasafuda, hell yeah, let's go. Thank you again, my friend. Okay. Let's go, okay. We were doing 56 push-ups last time, but I don't know why. I've been kind of doing some more shit at the gym, so I feel like I've just been kind of burnt out on them, but all right, 56 push-ups. I think I'm feeling it pretty easy. If I pound these out pretty easy, we'll do 100. Or no, not push-ups, squats. All right, are you guys doing them with me? Wasn't Hannah here? She told me she would do them with me. If not, she's a liar. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, this is a lot easier. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, ass to grass, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, I scared pretty, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56. Holy shit. my my legs are burning though. It wasn't terrible, but my legs are fucking burning. God damn. Oh, I feel it like mainly in my front quads. Oh. Yeah, get those. Trying to get thick. I'm actually curious if you can get thick with like body weight stuff, but I don't really think so. I think the best way to gain muscle and thickness is weight training and just eating a lot of food. Protein and calories. Alright. Ass cash or feet pics. You decide. Oh. Fuck. That was, yeah, it was like more of a cardio thing, I guess. Kind of caught up to me. But, alright, my friends. That was Daddy's push-ups into Daddy's ass blasters. The most fit narrator. You know, hard to say. I remember Swamp Dweller, and this is just more of a curiosity, he was doing lifting for a while, getting into it. I even think he got like a trainer and shit. But I don't know if he's still doing it or not. I hope so. The whole fucking squad can be swoly-woly. Sympathy for the popping joints during squats. You know, believe it or not, I had the headphones on, and that's what scared Pradeep was my, the cord connected to the headphones, like banging on the floor. Here, I can. I don't know if you can hear it. Oh, scared Pradeep away again. It's so dude, cats are so fucking stupid. Holy shit. But they're funny, so it's fine. Mr. K.W. Jones with the 10 says, sewer is no joke. Uncle worked for 15 years in New York. Their work routine was restricted and supervised. He said he would always hear things, but told not to ask about it. That's fucking weird. To not ask about it. You think you would like... That's weird as shit to not ask about it. That's creepy. I feel like a lot of stuff down in the sewers is scary. Like aside from like the fact that poop lives down there, you have rats and gators and fucking methane gas that you could light a cigarette and the whole like street block blows up. You know what I mean? Obviously, Pennywise the clown lives down there too. All right. Well, my friends, yeah, we'll up the ante next time. We'll just go up by tens. We'll go up to 60 next time with the squats. Just see what happens. I wish I had a pull-up bar. I would definitely do pull-ups, but it wouldn't really be within like earshot either, so I'd have to yell it to you guys. I'm so bad at pull-ups though. But anyways, thank you again, guys. Thank you for everything. Thank you for the support. And I appreciate you. And yeah, anybody who's a member and all that good stuff, stay tuned for this. We'll have it up and edited. And then I'll be back tomorrow for another Strimstram. So stay tuned. And if the notifications don't work for you, just like hit them over on Twitter, and it helps. Like you'll get notified of pretty much everything I tweet over there, because Twitter's notifications actually work, because nobody wants to come to their stupid fucking website anyways. So anyways, love you guys, appreciate you, take care, I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.